Yeah.
Mhm.
Do it.
Chilling, doing good.
Pretty good.
Doing fantastic.
Yeah, you could say that. But, had some great charges with my favorite 3-squad unit in the game, 3-man squad. Lots of 10s, quite a few 10s. Funnily.
Do my best. I do my best. Yeah, I just one thing, I was listening onto the stream and I think your audio isn't on. Yeah, I like to listen in. Sorry about that. Absolutely, yeah. So, sorry about that, guys. Paul's gonna try to figure out his audio. We do have Kaiju Gaming Lounge as our sponsor. You probably saw here pop up on the screen, and Kaiju is it's going to be, of course, a store that opens in Orlando. We do have that, it's located in Orlando, but it's more than that. They're also going to have offerings that, of course, are going to be online. If you go on to collectiblesquids.com, that's their online presence at the moment, which you can order from. If you support them, you're supporting Kaiju, which is great. Kaiju is building an awesome space here, and if you're ever in town, definitely want to go visit them once they do open. They're gonna be Wargamer focused, which is really great. They're still gonna have the usual game shop stuff, but they're owned by Wargamers, so they're going to focus on Wargamers, which is great. We love that, and they support the community. One of their co-owners, Carl, helped me run my first event last weekend. He didn't have to do anything like that. He does that all around Florida and the Southeast in general, just helping people run events. So community focused, and they love to give back, which is great. So please help them out.
Testing my mic. I think I got it. I think I see what the problem was.
All right.
I'm basically
Forgotten Jack good.
I'm basically a boomer at this stuff. I'm really sorry. Okay, so welcome to the Stormkeep, if nobody was hearing me before. We're doing the Realm Report again. The Realm Report is a series that we're going to be doing on this channel where we track the metagame, how it's evolving, and we are going to look at all, in particular, the changes that Season 1 has brought in with the new unit type, the Galatian Veterans, which is really cool. It's basically infantry having proper rules. I'm actually hoping the next season maybe introduces some rules for cavalry, because the changes for infantry have been awesome and really make me it's just a lot more fun to play the game. Like, you can use units you weren't using before, which is really cool. And it seems like every army is good now. There's no objectively trash army. Like before, you could say, "Oh, don't play that army. They're just terrible. They're never going to win." You can't do that anymore. Like every army has not a good chance of winning. Some armies are still a little bit better, but like there's nothing like terrible. You can feel good about everything now, which is great.
Yeah,
I'm loving the balance. Of all the lists we have today, we have 11 for you. They're all from unique factions, except for the 11th, which is a bonus one I wanted to add in just because we're a Stormcast channel, but I won't get too far ahead of myself. But it's really cool that they're all unique factions, which is, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's really awesome because it was kind of boring seeing the exact same faction win over, and like there was maybe like a handful of factions that were just winning constantly. You can still see this problem in 40k. There was like a period where it was just Grey Knights and then it was just Tyranids, and like it's just, yeah. But that's not happening now in AOS, which is great. So it's been a lot of fun. To quickly recap the changes in Season 1, there's a new unit type, Infantry. It gets a Veteran keyword, which allows it to fight in 2 ranks. Those units can also contest Proving Grounds, which is something you check every single round. One objective is declared to be the Proving Ground, and only Veteran units can contest that objective. So it's important to bring some amount of Veteran units. And to counteract that power, strategic power, there's a new Bounty Hunter Battalion, which increases the damage done to veteran units, and it can be taken by any troop, which just blows open the amount of viable units that every army can pick. There's new battle plans, new tactics, new strategies. The endless spells are a big deal now, finally, maybe for the first time ever. We have this great channel in our Discord called the Purple Sun Kill Shots, where we encourage people to just post photos of models that have been slain by the Purple Sun. So if you kill something with your Purple Sun, put like a 1 next to it, take a photo, and drop it in our Discord. We love seeing it because it's it's going to get errataed, and I'm going to hate to see it change because I just love how ridiculous it is right now.
Do we though? Do we really love?
I love it. I love it.
I think people love seeing it. I don't think anyone likes like it happening.
Having happening to them.
Big models in a game. Yeah.
Nope.
So we also had some minor changes. Not minor. We had some changes in the battle scroll in June. We're expecting another battle scroll sometime in September, probably mid-September is what everybody's predicting. So that'll be after my wedding. And we saw nerfs to Stormcast, Living City, Seraphon, and Be'lakor. We saw buffs to Cruel Boys and Khorne, and the Khorne buffs have been very well received.
Substantial. Very,
Yes.
very, very good.
Oh, yeah.
And the hunt was removed. So it's possible we may see the hunt come back because maybe they don't want to do rule changes again. Maybe they just want to give small extra victory points when you're playing against some factions. I guess we could talk
Dragon
about
Ogres.
that.
Dragon Ogres go on hunt.
They did
Boom.
note in the last article on balance that they were looking
Yeah.
at Sons of Behemat, Fire Slayers, Beasts of Chaos, and Magakin of Nurgle. So keep an
Yeah.
eye out for stuff from that. And
Honestly,
maybe
like,
Purple Sun.
yeah. Dragon Ogres being as cheap as they are, if they went on a hunt, ooh, baby. Give me those sweet 2 victory points.
Just
for every
farming
6
victory
seconds.
points.
Absolutely.
We're a
You want to
45%
spam them?
army,
Be my
right?
guest. What?
I think we're a 45% army, right? We get hunter points now, right?
Yeah, we get.
No.
we get. No, I don't think that'll happen.
No, we won't get it.
I'd settle for just them becoming priority target.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
All right, so last thing before we jump into the list, I put a poll in our chat. We just did a video about Tempesters, and I'm curious how people are feeling about them. So quickly go ahead and vote there. We want to see how people are ranking Tempesters. In our tier list, we put them as A tier, and I've kind of been debating, like, are they actually A tier? Maybe they're a little bit better. Maybe they're a little bit worse. So let us know what you guys think.
A plus.
A plus sounds about right. Yeah.
A
Well, we'll
plus.
see.
Like they're not S, because like we said, like Fulminators exist, other stuff exists, but
Yeah.
they're definitely very, 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 very. Especially if you build. Don't just like slaughter them.
And Croncast, they're just chef's kiss. They're so
Yeah.
good. Love them. Love
Yeah,
seeing
they're
them in that list.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's jump into the first list here. Dan, take us away. What do we got?
All right. Looks like our first list here is going to be from Carl Ong. You'll know him from over on Season of War, another YouTube channel that's a good channel. Great guys over there. And he's playing Kharadron Overlords, Barrack Zilfin. And he went for I like that he went for 1955 points, taking that triumph. But he is running the Incarnate and Purple Sun. So this is that Incarnate Purple Sun incarnation. That's funny. Version of this. And I mean, it's something that I think Morgonk, you've played against a very similar list. But it runs a lot of the basic things that you're going to expect. The navigator for that, I think he has the staff, right, for the charge having.
Gale Force staff, yep.
Yep, Gale Force staff. The chemist with spell in a bottle for, of course, the purple sun, which, you know, even though they can't control it on their turn, it's still going to be really good. It's still going to be doing what they want it to do. It's kind of going to be moving back and forth. And a pretty basic setup. It's got an ironclad gun hauler with that, the Arcanaut Company, and the Incarnate doing its thing. I think,
slight correction. He doesn't have the Gale. He just has Arcane Tome
really?
and Spell in the Bottle. Yeah. So the Etheric Navigator so essentially has two abilities. Gale Force Staff essentially halves your charge phase. He picks a unit within 12 and half their charges. So it's really good against Annihilators. But this one, the Navigator has something on their scroll that lets them pick a flying unit within 36, and on 2-up, it just halves their moves and charges. So yeah, it's just a really, really good unit to have when you have Kron Spine Incarnates and Stormdrake Guard floating about. Yeah.
Yeah, really neat list. I mean, it just takes advantage of KO. Their big weakness, no rend. Or very low rend, and then boom, add some rend. Very similar to our Concast list. You just start adding some rend to like crossbows, for example, and things just start multiplying.
And
and they have no objective taking capability in melee. Well, there you go. Kron Spine just fulfills that role.
He's also a defensive anvil piece, which is something that Army was lacking. They're very mobile, you know, run and gun style, but they lack the range and the damage to meaningfully do that style. But when you stick in something like a mini Marathi, effectively, then it's going to look pretty good all of a sudden.
Yep.
Yeah. So this
their short range makes them very vulnerable to being double turned or and like the Kron Spine being protecting your boats from that is perfect.
Yeah, you don't want to get stuck on that. Especially with it's his bound person, the Admiral, being in the boat. He's pretty safe there. This was at Summer Slaughter, and he did take second place. It was still a 5-0 list, so almost all the lists for one are going to be 5-0 lists today. And so looking at its win path here, its first win path was win was against Sylvaneth, Heartwood, which is the pick 3 targets, and it's going to give them a +1 to hit for the entire game for their units. This was a 9 sides build. Really high investment. I've seen some people talking about running this, and I'm not very convinced of it myself.
Is that a single double reinforced unit, or is that like 3x3, 9 and 1? Wow, that's...
Yep. Yeah, very high investment. I get it's very much like 6 Annihilators, right? It's strong, and the nice thing about Kurnos is they're very much like Annihilators that you can pull back. They're reloadable Annihilators. And and what I always say about Sylvaneth, if you're facing Sylvaneth basically has really good shooting. That's what Sylvaneth does, is they send a unit out, it hits, and then it comes back. You don't get to interact with it. But they also don't stay behind, but they have the option to, so it's like better shooting in some way. It's a very interesting matchup to play against.
I mean, it still is vulnerable to screens, in my opinion.
Yes,
so the way Sylvaneth like to deal with that is they have this absurdly broken trait called Spellsinger, which lets them treat any Awakened Wildwoods on the field like an Umbral Spell Portal for all the spells from that cast. So typically you will see these builds with the Warsong Revenant with an Arcane Tome, putting 3 spells, some combination of spells or endless spells through the Wildwood.
Yeah,
just, chip Mortal Wound the crap out of your screens, and then send in the Karnat, they hit something hard, they fall back.
They get to do that in the hero phase. And the other cool thing, the spell portal they get to use, unlike regular spell portal, they can summon an endless spell through it. So normally you can't summon an endless spell on the other side of a spell portal. You have to move it through the spell portal, and it doesn't count as having moved. So you see he's got the Gnashing Jaws here. He can summon that in front of your front line and then push it across. So there's some tech in there for that, and that's cool to see the Ravanax. And I did look through all the lists today, have an endless spell if they could have taken one, except for the Gargant list.
I think the reason this KO list won against Sylvaneth is because everything in KO ignores line of sight. Because the way Garrison works, all the models are above 10 wounds, and so nothing really blocks line of sight as far as Sylvaneth. They can just shoot us.
Yep, not a fun interaction on that one.
Yep.
I recall when this season was starting, I was looking at this and thinking, man, Thunderers are going to look better. Maybe not as veterans, because you don't, or even as a melee choice, but like the Purple Sun and Thunderers is a lot of damage. I think I'm wondering maybe people should lean more into them, but I think that's too many points. I'm not an expert KO player by any means.
That's fair. The next list we're looking at here is going to be a have it down as a dwarf mashup Ironclad list because literally they took all the dwarves they could and slammed them in there. It's a Tempest style list. It's got a Rune Lord and a Rune Sun as its heroes. A minion of Longbeards, reinforced Iron Drakes, reinforced Hammerers, a set of Grunstock Thunderers, and a set of Hearthguard Berserkers also reinforced with an Ironclad. So it's really just dwarf units to the max.
Nice.
Probably a little fluffier than not, but still, they were able to win it out. And I mean, it's Tempest die, so just -1 to hit. You got a +1 to save on that. Well, sides don't really care about saves, so they kind of probably just went in there and started slamming. Or not sides, sorry. The Purple Sun doesn't care about saves. Still hung up on the sides. So yeah, I can see this list definitely doing really well against that Tempest die list.
Do you think this would have been like a beta strike where typically KO want to go hard and fast and lock down the board and deal crippling damage? But do you think against Tempest size +1 save, the right call would be to wait until the second turn when that +1 save falls off and then engage? Because I don't think there's anything, without seeing the list, obviously, but I don't think there's much in a city army that can threaten you turn 1. And maybe waiting until turn 2 might be the play. It also depends on battle plan, right?
Yeah, all they had was the Ironclad. The Ironclad, can it garrison in as an ally?
Yeah, I think that's
no,
isn't that a War
Is it
Scroll
on the War
ability?
Scroll?
No, I don't think it's a War
I don't think so either.
Hmm.
And they don't have like a bridge or anything like that to really get them out there, other than the usual Tempest die extra movement. I think Tempest die has. So they don't really have anything to get to.
Oh, actually, yeah, Marine. It's a War Scroll ability, but it's Marine model. So not
okay.
allies. They need to have the Marine.
So just the Thunderers can do it. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so not really too much going on there as far as really mobility. And I'm sure that played a big part of it. I'm sure Carl was able to really just hop and go wherever he needed to. And then the Kronspine, really good into Tempest die because it doesn't really care anyway. So even if you were to get in, counters that. But anyways, looking at the next list here, we've got a Skaven list with a Warbringer and double Graciers. It's hammers in the list for the Ogres and the Censer Bearers as far as the units. So it's got reinforced Ogres, reinforced Censer Bearers. Nothing too crazy going on there.
I mean, it's a melee list. It'll just shoot Skaven all day.
Yeah, so you just
Skaven is not really a problem for them.
Skaven, you'd think with their really good unbinding would be good in this meta, but it turns out there's just too many auto casts that can't be dispelled or unbound when they get cast. So that's a big problem for Skaven.
Spell in a Bottle is the only one that can literally not be, because Blades of Corn can unbind some of the Midnight Tome and the Vesperal Gem. Blades of Corn can, but not Spell in a Bottle because it's not cast by a wizard.
Yep.
So it's
best rolls ever.
Yeah. Looks like the next list here. Oh, I think I pulled up the wrong.
Another Kharadron list.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. This was a pretty standard one. So this was the Mine is Incarnate. You'd have a double Grunstocks, double Frigate with an Ironclad and the Purple Sun. So it went for more of the normal, I guess, KO list that you'd normally see with a Warp Lightning Vortex, but instead going with a Purple Sun, because that's just kind of, honestly, I think it's just better, going Purple Sun right now than the Warp Lightning Vortex for KO. So interesting mirror matchup. I would have wanted to see how that one went out. That'd be neat. And last matchup was against a Lofnir list. So as you can imagine, they had 3 Magma Droths and some
how many
Berserkers.
The Purple Sun killed.
Right?
Probably a lot.
Yeah. I can imagine we got at least one. But yeah, it's a good list. Carl had a great time. I think that was his first 5-0 at a GT ever. So congrats to you, Carl. Good one, man.
Right on. Looks good. Kharadron looking, well, we'll talk about strengths and all that at the end when we'll do another updated tier list kind of thing. But I think Kharadron are looking okay right now.
Yeah.
As long as the Kronspine's there, I think they're looking.
I wonder how much of it is being carried by the Purple Sun killing things instantly for them. Because, that's a lot of damage. That would be
interesting. Yeah.
We're lagging out for you guys?
I think you're lagging out. Yeah.
It's not me. Good.
Oh, that's better. All right, cool.
There we
what
go.
I'm saying was, well, especially because he only gets to take advantage of that Purple Sun once, and after that, it's
just gets shoved back and forth. If
it's unreliable. Mm-hmm.
Well, you can double sometimes, right? But
Yeah.
all right, let's take a look at the next list here. It's a Daughters of Cain list. Run us through it.
This one's actually one from last time. You might recognize this from Josh Bennett. Literally the exact same list. Nothing
Yeah.
different. Made it really easy for me to put in here. Yeah, so Josh, really great. He's a big believer in running the Gotrek. He's sure of it. And it's working for him. He got first year going 5-0. Yeah, it's a Marathi Gotrek list. You've seen this one before, and it turns out it still performs decently. I mean, Josh is also very experienced at Daughters. So as always, don't just net list everything. But he's got cogs, new cogs, super good with Daughters. Other than that, I mean, this is pretty much the same as last time. It's just a good list.
Marathi cast cogs gives the Bloodrack Medusa the reroll to put it on Mind Razor, so a 7+ rerollable Mind Razor instead of the standard 8+. That's always good. We talked about that a lot in our Daughters review. Marathi Gotrek is a solid combo. I thought this combo was dead. I thought it would be too expensive. And I mean, look at how
it's
elite
better
this
in an
list is.
age of when people are trying to slot, because Gotrek is the best counter you get to Purple Sun because it doesn't die.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. You just have 2 anvils that are protecting your 15 Blood Sisters. So,
yep.
Looking at the matchups real quick, it's like which of these armies could have threatened those Blood Sisters? Because you have to wipe out those Blood Sisters in one turn, not one round,
Yep.
one turn, because they're going to rally as soon as your turn is over.
Yeah, Zealous Order.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a 4-up rally, right?
So this one's kind of like, how hard countered is this by something like Kharadron that can just Alpha Strike and kill those sisters, or Stormcast, which can Thunderbolt volley them off fairly reliably, let's say.
We do well into this matchup.
We do well into this matchup, but it depends on how we play. Like, the play here cannot be, engage Gotrek and Marathi. It has to be you dance around, you kill everything else but them, you keep landing your wounds on Marathi, try to use Blaze of Glory, or in this case, if you're Hallowed Knights, try to put some Redeemers into her so they can, at least on her turn, they can fight back on death and do the 3 wounds necessary to her. And once Marathi's gone, once the Blood Sisters are gone, just ignore Gotrek. He can be in one place at a time. You translocate to whatever objective you have to take it. So it really depends on what the list composition is and how you play it. KO can have a hard time because they're such short range to deploy all their guns. Like I said, like their definitive range, in my opinion, is 18. And if they're not killing Marathi in a turn, Marathi will get to go into, and that's a problem. Gotrek could make a lucky charge, but I don't think he's likely to catch KO. But luckily, he counts as 2, whereas the KO boats all count as 2 also, so they can't compete on objectives. And Gotrek can deal with the Kronspine. Yeah.
Okay, right on. So let's take a look at the matchups then. Win against Stormcast using a Draconis. Haven't seen one of those in a while.
It was a Gardas Draconis list, but it was only a 2 SGG that he had.
Do you mean two units or just 2?
Just 2.
Just 2.
Oh.
Yeah, it's 6 Raptors, 2 Dragons, and then a bunch of Redeemers.
No relics here to translocate?
No, I took the Castellan instead.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's odd. I would have gone 4 Drakes with that. Probably got the Draconis for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really strange, but yeah, he got the win there. The next one was a fairly typical flies list. I guess not the most typical. It was a double Lord of Affliction, so not running the Blobe that you see very often with them. It was flies, and then I believe I had a unit of Blight Kings with them. So not very much different. He was able to get in there and really I imagine Gotrek just eats up flies. That's
and after the FAQ, the disease points too. Like they can max do 1 more wound. Who cares? He has a 3 or 4.
He had really the next matchup is a Soulblight Gravewoods matchup. It's a Viracos matchup with really mixed heroes. I wasn't sure what the plan was on this one. There's a couple Graveguard, a couple Skeletons. Like there was a couple of everything, and I thought that was pretty interesting. But it didn't seem like the most cohesive of Soulblight lists. So I'm not sure what was the game plan.
Yuri and Levin in here to explain what they're trying to do.
Yeah, this one, there's got to be some 5D that I'm not seeing. But then you've got a Dragon Ogre spam Incarnate list with Beast of Chaos, and I'm kind of almost surprised that this list could pass that. Like Gotrek, of course, can blender things, but I don't know. It just seems like so many.
It comes down to
bodies.
battle plan. If it's one of those 3 objective battle plans, saying you're lucky, then Gotrek just locks down an objective by himself. And then don't underestimate that 15 Blood Sisters, because he is battle regiment. If he fights, twice every turn using Marathi's worship through bloodshed or whatever in the hero phase, that's a lot of damage. That can actually kill a fair bit of Dragon Ogre.
So, which one's this? That Dragon Ogre list was on round 3, right?
Think so. Yes, it was.
Round
Dragon Ogre,
round...
Gores, Incarnate, Dragon Ogre, Shaggoth, a Shaman, Grashak, 6 Dragon Ogres, 3 sets of 10 Gores, and the Incarnate.
I guess
so that was on head-on collision.
So he's not running. He's not spamming Dragon Ogres. He's bringing like Gores and others like.
Oh yeah, I do see that. Yeah, he went for some Zangor Enlightened, and then the Bull Gores.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that's not gonna cut it.
So
Okay, yeah, if it was just pure Dragon Ogres,
No,
that's like
yeah.
wound density. That'd be very
Just
hard.
thick Dragon Boys. That's all you need. Just lots. Whatever points you spend,
Lots of
they're
Dragon
wrong
Boys.
unless they're Dragon Ogres. That's how you play Beasts now, apparently.
Yeah, you maybe take like a unit of Bulgors, just so you have some GV moving grounds and such. Like 1 unit of 6, and then everything else should be like a Dragon Ogre. And like Dragon Ogre Shaggoths and Dragon Ogres, and then maybe 1 great Bray Shaman so you can give some people some extra move.
Well, you can always just summon more veterans.
Sure, yeah, why not? Yeah, that too.
Yeah. And then the last one was a Zinch list. It was a double bird list. You've probably seen before. Double bird, Changecaster, the Thaumaturge, Blue Scribes, a bunch of Kyric Acolytes, and a spell portal. So and some pink horrors, 1 set of pink horrors just to have them.
Yeah,
so pretty much.
I can see how this can win. That list needs to like kill fast and then score, kind of like how Stormcast play, and they can't do it against this list.
Not against this list.
Those Zinch kind of lists always struggle against shooting. They do great against melee because you tar pit for days with horrors and you nuke stuff down with spells like pinpoint damage. But against shooting, they have problems, especially long ranged shooting. They have problems against that because you can just reliably stay out of the spell portal threat range and then just teleport or jump or whatever you need to do to get in range and then shoot what you need to shoot, and then that's it. Yeah, you control the whole board.
Yep. So yeah, Josh took first place at the Outlaw. Showing Daughters of Cain, still good. Very classic Marathi. The Bow Snakes, they aren't going anywhere. We'll apologize because next list is actually first place from Summer Slaughter. Looks like I must have misplaced a slide when we were rearranging.
No worries. Let's just talk about this one then.
Yeah. So, this is going to be our first place from Summer Slaughter, a 5-0 from Anthony Tensionelli. Not a big surprise to see this guy going 5-0 and taking Slaanesh to it. So this was an interesting list. It took, I think we went over this one last time, but by a different player. But it was Sigvald in Epitome with a Bladebringer, filling out the hero slots with a bunch of Bliss Barbs, some Centaurs and Gores for some screens, and then the Kron Spine, along with some Geminids and Purple Sun.
Yep.
Really good use of utility there. The Geminids, shutting stuff off, not letting stuff get away from the Kron Spine, for example, or Sigvald even. And then the Purple Sun is just good. I mean, it makes the Bliss Barb Archers also a little better.
Yes, it does.
That and Anthony is a really good player. So
yeah,
I'm sure he was able to take this list. Yeah. Oof. This one also, I remember I was looking at it the weekend that it happened, and it took a long time for this matchup to resolve because it was between him and Skaven at the end, and I was literally just waiting for this matchup to get posted because whoever won was going to take it. And I thought it was pretty cool that Slaanesh can hang, even if it is, I'm sure you're seeing a little bit of a trend, the Incarnate showing up in all of these lists. Yeah, I mean, Incarnate right now is just, it's, I guess, fulfilling what GW promised, right? They said everyone would get a monster, and this is the monster we got.
Yeah, it's a problem, right?
It's a problem, yeah.
Oh, I think Murgonk's
out again. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll give him a sec. Yeah.
It's definitely a problem.
Oh, sorry. Either mechanically change it or change it to 680 like Murphy, but a monster that for Age of Sigmar is we talk a lot about shooting, but it's primarily still a melee game. The fact that you have to suicide charge into it twice as a standard in order to try and kill it is absurd. Like, sorry, and the attacks are way too good. It's doing like what Kragnos levels of damage, I think. What is it, like 4 attacks on like -3 Rend 4 damage?
Yep.
And then like 8 attacks at -2 Rend 2 damage. Like, oof, it's just way too cheap. Like, it outclasses quite literally every single hero monster in the 400 to 600 point, and it's at 400 points. It's at the lower end of that point. So,
I literally like. Why would you ever run Karazai? Why?
Yeah, why would I run a Star Drake? Why would I run a Karazai? Why would I run a
even a set of 2 Stormdrake guard?
Yeah, if I'm a Flesh Eater Quartz player, why would I run like the Abhorrent Ghoul King Terror guys when this thing is like this is what I'm going up against?
Well,
Like,
you know, they're about to release it separately, and I think this intro period here was its like hype season where everybody's going to realize how good it is, and they're going to reintroduce it single, and they're going to make a bunch of money off it, and then they're going to nerf it in December.
Isn't it like $60 too?
Yeah.
Yeah, expensive. Yeah.
Like, oh gosh, I'm not ready. Anyways,
one last thing about the Incarnate.
Sorry.
I don't like the idea that every army can have the same thing. Right? Like, endless spells are kind of its own thing. Like, Purple Sun is obviously making waves, right? But something like the Incarnate is filling a hole that armies have on purpose. Stuff like Kharadron Overlords, Beasts of Chaos, Slaanesh, these are not meant to be durable armies. They're not meant to hold territory for long periods of time. They're meant to die, basically, and then you're supposed to take the space from them, but they're supposed to trade up, right? That maybe that's different, maybe that's not what their design is, but that's what I've seen for years now. That's how these armies function, and it's not specific to these armies. In general, there's some armies that just aren't supposed to have super durable wall units. And the Kronsmine is just there, and it's like, hey, now you have a super durable wall unit, so why aren't you using it? Are you stupid?
Yeah.
Like, use this unit.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's the best unit in your book, and it's not in your book.
Yeah, what's ridiculous is, like, I thought Croak's mechanic, because Croak has a very similar, he has to, like, pass that 3d6 check or whatever, but that's, like, any phase that he takes damage. So you could kill him if you, like, really concentrated all your resources. Like, this thing will, like, fight in the combat phase, no matter what, like, if it's in combat. Like, you could do 1 billion damage, it doesn't make a difference. You know, there's no bracketing this thing, there's no, like, hitting this thing. The only strict counter that I can think of is that Etheric Navigator and Kharadron Overlord's going, okay, you're only going to move 6.
Yeah, ask me about Lord Croak dying to
Bellicor.
unleash hell.
Yeah.
I've had that happen. It's not fun. Kronspine's just, it's just too much. And the fact that it's neutral, if this was like a faction thing that, like, I don't know, maybe only Cruel Boys could summon this thing because they're from Gur and they're like the most bestial or whatever, then it's like, okay, yeah, you know, the whole army's kind of designed around it, obviously. But it's just every army can use it, so it's kind of boring.
Yeah, not a fan.
Yeah,
I think it needs to be at least 550.
Could be.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. They could nerf it to, like, the 550 is still too cheap. It needs to be 600. It needs to be near morale.
Yeah, I'm a fan of, if it goes wild, I think it should move 2d6 so that you can't be reliable with it. So it's no longer a reliable unit, and it can actually threaten you.
If it goes wild, your opponent should get to move it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, yeah, it should be like a thing where
like an endless spell. It should work like a wild endless spell.
Yeah, like it should.
Whoever's turn it is gets to control it.
Gosh.
So let's look at the win path here for this list, because we're talking about the Kronspine, but we're still supposed to be looking at a Slaanesh list that went.
Yeah, you're right.
Sure. Absolutely. So we got Gloomspite gets here. This is a bit of a mixed list with some Troggoths and some Bounders. So the what is it? Boingrot, thank you.
Yeah.
Boingrot Bounders. So, you know, a neat little Gloomspite gets list, and I'm sure it wasn't the most ready for an Incarnate, but you know, had a regular old Cave Shaman, Madcap Shamans, and then a Web Spinner Shaman and a Ragnarok Spider. Nice.
You know, Troggoths aren't that bad. They have high damage, you know, inaccurate, but high damage attacks, and they have a 5-up ward on 4 wounds per body. And with a little bit of save stacking, they're really not that bad. They're like a White Dwarf away from being really, really strong as an army. Just like Beasts of Chaos, right? Like one rule change, and all of a sudden they're going to be insane. Like, Troggoths are a solid core.
Agreed. Yeah, I've seen them. I have lost 2 RTTs now by points. I haven't faced them directly, but 2 RTTs to Gloomspite gets. Just there's some players that do it really well. So, you know, congrats to them. Fortunately, it didn't happen on this one. They faced that poor incarnate or that incarnate. Looking at the next list here, we got a Soulblight Gravelords list, and there's a Castelli list. It had, let's see, that's 40 Death Rattle Skeletons, a 20, a 10, and a 10. 10 Blood Knights, 20 Graveguard, and then 2 units of 5 Black Knights, which I'm seeing really popularly being used by a lot of Soulblight Gravelord units or armies. And this one's running Neferata, the Coven Throne, and a Vampire Lord. So
Yep.
somewhat of a
It's a very
standard
popular
list.
build, I think. Yeah, but again, they can't really deal with the Kron Spine without Suicide charging into it.
No,
So that's
look at these
that's it. The
matchups.
Kron
It's
Spine
like
just neuters that.
melee
Yeah, it's
army,
like you're
melee
building-
army, melee army, melee army. The Kron Spine is just
Yeah.
eating its way to 4-1 minimum.
Yeah. Until they reach Skaven, like just looking at the list, until they reach Skaven, there is no like threat to the at all. That doesn't also involve them trading units like that are worth 200 or 300.
I don't know.
So,
I think the 10 Blood Knights on a 2-up unrendable save could tank that Incarnate just fine.
Can they be 2-up unrendable? I thought you ignored positive save modifiers too.
I don't
Nope.
think so on that one. Yeah. I think
Neferata
Soulblight-
spell does
Just
not.
rend? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Just
just
It's
Ren.
Negative.
too many rules. It's hard to remember all of them.
It's hard sometimes.
Yeah, but like
The-
Slaanesh has decent unbinding. The turn you unbind that, like Kron Spine will just kill them. Meanwhile, you just kill everything else in that army using DP summoning. You use your Abyss Orb Archers to put 3 wounds on some skeleton, and because they have resurrection, you can keep farming them for DP.
And Blood Knights are only 10-inch move. They're not super hard to avoid. Like, you can play around them.
Yeah.
Well,
Plus,
remember,
you
with
get
Castelli, they're
Sigwald.
going to get faster.
That's true.
Plus, you have Sigwald, so ignore ward saves. Yeah, I mean, I can see Kron Spine can probably. Yeah, you're right. Kron Spine can probably just eat. And the turn they fail that spell or you unbind it, that's all you're waiting for. After that, you have Geminids, Purple Sun, Kron Spine, and it's like the perfect combo. It's like, okay, have fun.
Mhm.
I'm gonna hit you with -4, -3 rend.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the Geminids are an effective rend. Purple Sun putting on that. I mean, it's even
Yeah.
the archers start looking kind of good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. Looking at the next list, we got an Ironjawz list, fairly standard Blood Tubes list. Actually, no, this one was the mixed one. So this one had a bit of a mixed Pigs and Brutes. It was about half and half. You had 2 units of min units of Brutes, a unit of Reinforced Gorgruntas, min unit of Gorgruntas, with Rogue Idol, and this was all with just one Mega Boss, Maw Crusher. So you got a Mega Boss. Rogue
I
Idol.
just can't win against Kron Spine.
Yeah, it's like what it,
it's
what do you
just
do?
it's game over. It's like, what are you gonna do? Like, you can't do your Blood Tube stupid movement once you're in combat with Kron. So they can't retreat, even though they could using their Allegiance ability or whatever.
You can't
can't
smash
do
and
that.
bash.
Yeah, you can't smash and bash it at all. And the minute it eats a Rogue Idol or Maw
Yeah.
Crusher, you are
Yeah, it's
definitely
over.
not. You are not killing it anymore.
And giving your army +1 rend doesn't matter because the Kron Spine is immune to damage for at least 1 turn. So, like,
Yep,
Yeah,
basically.
for real.
explosive damage doesn't matter.
Yeah, then on top of that, you add all the shooting and the Purple Sun. It's like, okay, well,
Yep.
GG. Next match.
It turns out when you give Slaanesh an Anvil, they can do okay.
Yeah. it's a
Yeah,
real
or like this is an example of why the Kron Spine is unhealthy. What the hell is an Ironjawz player supposed to do exactly?
Like,
What do they do? Like, no, just like, what do they do? If you are an Ironjawz main, if that is your faction, you cannot beat a Kron
Tie down
At
their
all.
Kron Spine with your Kron
With
Spine.
your Kron Spine.
Yeah.
That's honestly, I've been running a Kron Spine every tournament because honestly, I'm seeing Kron Spine, so I can't
I'm-
run a dragon unit like a 2. I
Yeah,
just can't.
I have to do the same thing. I'm building Dracia Gannett for my Daughters of Cain. I have to put a Kron Spine
It's
because otherwise I will lose.
this is a what do you call it? Imperial Knight from 40k, but in AOS. Like every
Yeah.
army's using it just because you can.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same with Beast of Chaos, I think. Like I just think like, yeah, this is one army, like the next matchup they face, this is the one army Slaanesh can really farm depravity points.
Yeah.
Like just insane amounts.
I did want to throw out that this was a double Dragon Ogre Shaggoths being wizards so that you could louch on
Nice.
them.
And then the Kron
Which-
Spine eats
oh.
the Louchon and wins the game.
Yeah, Kron Spine eats the louch on. Oh man.
Oh man, yeah.
Alright,
Oh
so-
wait, Dragon Ogre Shaggoths are 10 wound monsters. So if it kills
They
a
are.
Dragon Ogre Shaggoth,
Yes, they are.
That's
And-
probably what happens.
And
And
they're
then it
not,
goes up- goes
they're
up
not
the
hard to
level.
kill, man. They've got a 4
Yeah, they're
save.
10 wounds. It's the worst wound value to have on a. Yeah,
Suddenly,
that's
the
what happened.
Lautron is an Uber Eats. Nice.
So tell me about
Nice.
this Skaven game. You were watching it?
Oh, I wasn't watching. I was just waiting for the results to come out
Okay.
because I wanted to know who was going to win. Because I was like, this is going to be the first like 5-0 Skaven or the first 5-0 Slaanesh. And I remember being at the shop. It was after a weekly like meetup playing games, and I was like literally waiting, and I waited for like a half hour for this like past time. I swear. It felt like anyway. But the Skaven list is a double Vermin Lord list. You've got a Deceiver and a Corruptor.
Mm-hmm.
Really neat list. And one thing I'm seeing a lot of Slink Skittershank. Slink is really good. People kind of didn't expect it very much, but he's got Slink in there. He's got Reinforced Gutter Runners.
For people who don't know what Skittershank's doing, you want to run it down?
Yeah, so Skittershank, he's the Warband, so he's got his Claw Pack. They basically teleport outside of 6 of you. So it's not an outside of 9, it's an outside of 6. And when they fight consecutively, I think, or is it Slink gets to fight consecutively and then retreat, I think, with his like Skaven hero ability.
Mm-hmm. Sounds right.
But it's still really good because again, it's a double activation. They're a good assassin unit, and ironically, like it's a warband that actually does what it says on the box really well. It's kind of like the Daughters unit that came in really well for them last season. It got nerfed at a lot of points. Or the Shadow Stalkers, Shadow.
You're thinking of the Warcry unit, but the Warband.
Oh, it was a Warcry unit.
K-Knight Shadow Stalker.
Yeah, the Shadow Stalkers. Yeah, it's kind of like that, but for Skaven, it's just a really good unit. I'm seeing it a lot of Skaven lists.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, he had that and the double Vermin Lords being able to do a lot of the damage. He's got the Gutter Runners in there, and he backed it up with some shooting. He's got a Warp Lightning Cannon, which can be a little hit or miss, but when it hits, he's kind of nice. And then a set of Warp Lock Jezzails. So he's basically got Raptors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jezzails are an interesting unit. Ever since 2nd edition, they've been comparable to Raptors. The problem is you can't protect them from other shooting. So like, Blizzpart Archers just kill them, man, and that's rough because they're expensive.
I mean, they have a +1 to save. I think that they didn't move, something like that. I don't know.
They don't move. Yeah, I think they get a +1 to save. Plus, I mean, you can deploy them in such a way to where you can like walk them through the like gnaw. So like you can put gnaw holes around the board, and then you can like keep them way back so they don't do it like they aren't gonna get hurt, and then pop them through a gnaw hole and shoot them.
And they don't count as having moved. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, because it's set up.
They're even more fragile than long strikes, which is saying something.
Yeah.
They're a lot cheaper though, 120 points.
Yeah.
No, they're exactly half. So they're the exact profile pretty much of long strikes, just at half.
That's what I said. 100.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're good. Never mind. Sorry. You're good. My bad. Anyways,
let's move on. Next list.
Yeah, going on to the next one. So this was kind of neat to see. I didn't expect to see just a regular old Lumineth Realm Lord Zytrek list.
I'll be honest, I had to look up what Zytrek does.
We're on to Boise, because this was my got rolled so bad my opponents were hugging me tournament.
Oh gosh, Zytrek is a really popular one. Really, you haven't seen this one, Paul?
They're good.
For me, it was always the Helon, which I believe is the extra shots on Unleash Hell, basically. Like it was always that's the only one I ever saw. Zytrek I had to look up. I guess I've just never seen it on the table.
Yeah, Zytrek is big now. I think it's extra spell for everyone, and then what is it? First spell casts on a 9. Or
was that Zytrek?
I thought no, that's Fast Learner, ain't it? Oh, the new Fast Learner.
Yeah, Fast Learner
that's
is
the scenario.
Zytrek
is the copy a command. Is Zytrek not that? The one that lets you like
I know
copy
that the magic focused faction.
No. You get an extra spell cast. Learn an extra spell, and then your command trait is you can unbind again, and the second unbind you can re-roll. Then you get like a 6-up ward, and if Teclis is on the field, you get a 4-up ward instead, and I forget what their command ability does. No, they don't get a command, they get a spell. That's what it is. Their spell is, it has to do with saves, it's like melting your armor. How do I know this?
Half the move characteristic, and if it's greater than the save characteristic, you take the...
Yeah, that sounds right.
That one overwhelming heat?
Yeah. So yeah, I had to look all that up.
Yeah, I honestly didn't expect to see a Lumineth list here, but it's awesome that they are, just because they're such a GV focused army. It's really just the Dawn Riders that are helping them out, not taking BH damage. They do have a Severith in there and a Light of Eltharion, which I have been seeing pop up more recently. It's interesting. He wasn't really a very much used unit before, but I'm seeing a lot more. I believe he's unrendable, right?
Yeah, he's
Is that what
ethereal.
he's doing? And he takes less damage.
One
from
less
attacks?
damage, yeah. He's
One
got
less
One
damage,
less,
yeah.
yeah. Subtract
He's-
1 damage.
Yeah, he's like
a dreadnought.
he's sort of like the discount Gotrek in the way that he works.
Mhm.
Because he's got almost all the same rules, just
And,
less good.
and sometimes he shoots 6 mortal wounds. Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes
Very
he shoots
rarely.
6 mortal
But he does it
Yeah.
sometimes.
12 inches.
And
yeah.
he's a hero from fantasy. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did see
Not
they
that
still
many
took
of
the
those.
Emerald Life Swarm. Still good with Sentinels, even if it doesn't double proc.
Yeah.
It's still just good. And if you face them on the one where they get to rally on a 4-up, it's kind of disgusting.
I'm going to make a prediction here. Lumineth are going to get a 3+ rally.
For what? Winari?
Just the whole army. Why not?
And then they'll
No,
copy it, right?
Yeah, why not?
I don't think.
Oh
don't
gosh, I don't know about that one, Chief.
I don't know about that one. I think they're gonna get a metric butt ton of ward saves. I think a lot of their good stuff that they have is going to the war screen instead of having
It wouldn't be elves.
Pages
They
and
didn't
pages
have
of-
5 up wards, right?
5 up wards, still have excellent cast. We're already seeing it. Once per game, cast a spell on a 9. Really excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Shining Company on the war. Basically, they're simplifying, moving everything to the war scroll. And what can't be moved will be deleted.
Good. That I'm really
As an army, they will get worse because their sub factions were actually really, really, really good.
Really good. Yeah, and I don't see them getting army-wide war saves. They're almost all army-wide -1 to hit already.
Yeah, I think the rumors were the Stone Guard are all gonna have a 5-up ward, and the Living Mountain's gonna have a 4-up ward, and they're gonna be really, really good. So
Jeez.
that's what I'm.
So
As
Well,
long as they don't move like flies.
Yeah.
don't worry, there'll be a sub faction for that. Dawn Riders get the
No,
pregame move.
there very well might be a pregame.
So
There
let's-
already is a pregame move, actually.
So in terms of hammers, this list is relying on Severith's kind of, I don't want to call it low damage because it's like you can't ignore it, but it's basically a Night Judicator worth of damage, right? A little bit
Yeah.
more,
Mhm.
maybe a
Little bit
couple
more.
Night Judicators.
I mean, he does a bit more in melee, but yeah,
Yeah.
they're rough.
Mhm.
And then you've got the 30 Sentinels, which everybody knows how hard they hit with Lambent Light and all that stuff going on.
Standard.
Here's my problem though. Oh, never mind. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Finish it.
I was gonna say, so between Severith and the Sentinels, you're nuking down single targets because Sentinels don't do like army clearing damage. They're gonna kill one thing per turn, maybe with like a critical mass of mortal wounds. That's always how they've done things. And then Severith is there to finish things off and harass and play the flanks. And I think the Dawn Riders here being able to go bounty hunters gives them that extra damage that Lumineth were kind of lacking before this season, which
They're
a lot
good.
of armies were lacking, which was like, okay, you can either go heavy anti-elite or you can go heavy anti-horde. It's really hard to do both. And Lumineth were doing really well before because everybody was playing elite stuff and they were anti-elite. They've never really been the mass damage needed to kill, 180 zombies or whatever people are playing. But Dawn Riders are actually doing pretty good with bounty hunters. They're not Tempesters. They're not that good, but they're still decent. And I think people are underrating them. I think Dawn Riders are
Against
just
one model
okay.
against these horde armies with 1 wound models, Dawn Riders are excellent. I think they get like 4 attacks a model. They essentially become mounted vanquish
Mhm.
against 1 wound models because they use the deathly furrow thing and then they just
Yep.
kill you.
But they don't get to fight on death, and they don't get to get revived either. So they're a little bit worse than that.
Sure.
Well,
Sure.
They
Can't
have
all
more
be
but they're
vanquished.
wizards
there.
and they'll get to Mystic Shield themselves or do some
Yeah, keep
spells
themselves
I'm sure
unrendable.
already have. Yeah. And on top of that, they have like Light of Eltarion, Lore Seeker, probably for the Gargan matchup to just lock down an objective. It's just good stuff all around.
So let's run through the matchups then. Playing against Greyford, this is like multiple small hero artifact spam kind of list. What were the main hammers
Yep.
in that list?
So you've got one of every kind of hero, a foot hero
Right.
anyway. All of them with an artifact, of course, an artifact spam list. You've got a set of reinforced berserkers, 2 sets of reinforced Hearthguard berserkers, 1 of each type of weapon, of course, and then a min unit of Volkite berserkers. And you've got the Molten Infernoth in there with the Flame Spitter as well, and Gotrek. So Gotrek definitely being a big one there, and then the heroes going around doing their thing. I'm not the most familiar with the artifact spam. I should have been more
It
prepared on that
doesn't
one.
matter. They'll ignore Gotrek and shoot all the heroes down one by one, and they'll
Yeah.
and then they'll
I mean-
kill the foot. Nothing in that army is fast enough to catch Lumineth. It's gonna be 30 inches away.
Yeah. He didn't take the teleport spell on this list, or take what's it called, the hurricane. So Sentinels did have to kind of lug it around.
I mean, with 36-inch range, how much range could you really need? Fire.
Yeah.
6-inch
Oh,
move,
thanks, Carl.
30-inch range.
Got a donation from Carl from Chicago. Thanks, man.
Thanks, bud. Now I'm wondering why our notifications aren't working for that.
Yeah, that's weird.
I've just boomered this whole stream. There it goes.
Saying boo Gotrek in the chat.
Boo Gotrek. Boo Kronstein in the
Right, boo Kronstein too, man. Imagine using that crunch.
Yeah. Alright, so next
Anyways,
up, we've got
next
Krondys
match,
and...
Hammers of Sigmar, 4 Stormtree Guard. That's a tough match, actually, for
it's,
Lumineth.
yeah,
Lumineth struggle into Stormtree.
Mm-hmm. It was like a pseudo Kronka. I mean, it's just Krondys with 4 STG. That was the big takeaway from this.
Is there a Relictor in there?
It's I just had the list up and then I closed it. My boomer moment for the day. Anyways, yes, he's got a Relictor, Mirror Shield Translocation, and a Battle Mage. So he's got the Battle Mage Translocation combo. He's got Krondys Celestial Blades, 2 Liberators, Stormdrake Guard being battle line because Krondys is a general, and Praetors with a Purple Sun. So it's like a pseudo Kroncast. I mean, you got Krondys with a Purple Sun, so you've got that combo going on. You can Relictor, put him in. So
that is a tough
I think
that's really an elite army. There's
not
a lot of units compared to this. Look how many different units there are in this Lumineth army. So in terms of board control, yeah, that definitely goes towards the Lumineth player.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Sentinels can actually kill the Stormdrake Guard in this scenario, and the only reason I say that is because Draconic Onslaught not being that hero phase move anymore means that they're not going to have reach on the Sentinels. Like, while previously they would have, now you can easily screen out with the
it's tough because like that
just...
Lambent Light 4-up ignore is really good against it, right? And Krondys with Praetors. If I looked at these two lists side by side, I would have said the Krondys list would be
the thing of it is, though, is that you're going to have to really screen them out, like, real far. Because the dragons with a 3-inch pile-in and then 3-inch reach in Bounty Hunters, every failed save are 3 dead Sentinels, and you blow right through their save.
I mean...
Yeah, but then how are you getting to them?
Yeah,
is my
how are you getting to them? That's the tough thing.
Like, you will be screened out by 20 Wardens and the...
Translocate. Charge on a 7-inch rerollable.
I mean, you're still screened out, though.
Yeah, but tough. You can be screened out by 10 Dawn Riders, Warden.
Dawn Riders,
and then when you take the riposte, you will most likely lose 2 dragons, 3 if Light of Eltarian also shooting.
This Lumineth list doesn't have the mobility though, so it has to play super cagey and super far back. And that would give up. Now, normally that would give up board control, but that Stormcast list doesn't have the bodies for board control, so maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
yeah,
win's a win.
Against
dice game, right?
Yeah, it's a win. It's a
dice game. Yeah.
Castlight Dynasty. Oh god.
Nagash.
This is a Nagash Blood Knights list.
Sentinels kill Nagash. End of match, right? Like, just what else is there to say?
He also had a White King on Skeletal Steed. That's kind of hype. Fragment of the Keep.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that model.
Put that one out there. But it was 3x5 Blood Knights, and then a 2x10 Death Rattle Skeletons with Spell Portal and Purple Sun. So it was Nagash, please don't die, and then
it's too bad.
I mean, he can use one model a turn. Yeah, just kill Nagash, basically. 30 Sentinels on 5-ups. Yeah, they could do it.
How can you run Nagash in this economy?
I don't know. Honestly,
you paid $140 for Nagash and you want to put him on the table? Come on.
I don't know. Like, I think Nagash could be cheaper, considering he's like the only god I think in the game who doesn't benefit
he's
from any elite abilities.
Way overpointed.
Yeah. Like, he's the only one. Even Archaon benefits from Slave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next we had
and then Nighthaunt. This is a good win. Lumineth can struggle into Night, especially because of just how resilient they can be. But I guess with enough mortal wounds, you could cut through just about it.
Again, if depending on the list, I would say Nighthaunt would be favored because especially if you have a single block of 30, there's no way just with shooting you're going to do enough damage to do that. So if you screen out your 30 Blade Geist block between your Spirit Torments, you're just going to keep reviving faster than the Lumineth can keep up.
That one was a typo. It was actually only 20.
Oh, okay,
my bad.
Okay.
Oh,
20 Blade Geist, Yeah. So that's why I said it was like a mixed hero hammer. He had the Knight of Shrouds on Steed, the Cruelgast, of course, Spirit Torment normal, Guardians normal, but the Knight of Shrouds on Steed, Kurdos, and Reikenor. So 3 extra heroes than what you really.
Yeah, you just need more bodies with Nighthaunt. That's all you need.
Yep. So all he had was 20 Blade Geist after that, and then 2x3 Spirit Hosts, 2 Chain Gas, a Corpse Cart, and then 2x4 Murmorn Banshees, which I still don't know why people run 2. I'm not a fan of 2.
Are they afraid of Purple Sun? Are they afraid of, I don't know, like, what's a Spelldom army that's like really winning? I don't see it. I don't think
Banshees are super key to have 2 sets. I could see having 1. I could see it, but even then.
I can see 1. Knight of Shrouds is no good. I remember getting a lot of flack for saying that in our Nighthaunt review.
Yes.
But I was 100% right. Yeah. Knight of Shrouds is not
nobody's
good.
playing 1. Yeah, no. we've basically said all lists will start with a Cruciator or a Guardian of Souls, and then you add Spirit Torment, and then you add either the Dreadblade Hero or the other one that's the Tomb Banshee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's what we said were the 4 top heroes.
I still think people are sleeping on Tomb Banshee. She's really good.
Yeah.
See.
I mean, she could be, yeah.
This Nighthaunt list did not have a Purple Sun. It's like worth noting that they don't have one
because that's part of their allegiance
ability. Yeah, it's their allegiance ability.
Yeah. It's their spell. It's a Nighthaunt spell.
Yeah.
Weird. And then a mirror match? What?
Yeah, mirror match with the last one. Tech-less with 30 Sentinels. Very, very standard list. You could have picked this up from last season, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I might know this guy. The guy who's playing 30 Sentinels.
Mm-hmm.
He's played. I think I played this guy before.
Yeah, Tech-less with a
at the Austin Open. What's his name?
Is that
Jared Brown.
Yeah, I played him before. My Annihilators.
Is this other Lumineth list a battle regiment?
Yeah, it is.
It was
straight
battle
up.
regiment.
Okay. I was gonna say if it's not, you just shoot Tech-less and the game's over.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I killed Tech-less with some Blaze of Glory, Prosecutors, Annihilators, doing their.
Gosh. Good shout, Coach. He said we're starting to see double Cruciators. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I was talking to my good friend Ben Foltz. He won my RTT last weekend with with Nighthaunt, and he's like, honestly, because of Stormcast, I want to run double Cruciators.
I don't think you should, and here's why. I'll tell you what happened. One of the best Nighthaunt players in our local meta, just at the GT I played this weekend, his 4th match or 3rd match happened to be a Nighthaunt mirror. Cruciator does absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Because Nighthaunt cannot be terrified. So if you have 2, that's
it does
250 points down the drain.
It's so good, but it's not worth running 2 because there's too many matchups where 1 does nothing, right? Like Heavy Mortal Wounds does nothing, Damage 1 it does nothing. If you're not terrifying enemies, like if you're just getting shot, it does nothing. There's too many scenarios. It's inefficient. And Nighthaunt is perfectly costed. Like if you start trying to get greedy and bring extra heroes to Nighthaunt, you're going to lose because they need as many bodies as possible. They want as many bodies as possible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you think this mirror match went? Shoot Tech-less? Is that probably what happened?
Shoot Tech-less.
So shoot Tech-less.
I mean, yeah.
Shoot Tech-less without being in range of their Sentinels, and you win.
Yeah.
Basic.
This list had the teleport at least, so they could actually try to get around, but I guess they never got that far.
You just shoot Tech-less, yeah. Yeah, that would have been a really interesting match to see. Because it seems like a mirror, but because of the different pieces each player brought, that would have been very interesting to see. I would have given it to the other one, because with a battle regiment you can force going first. They can't deploy their Sentinels in reserve, so you just teleport in range. Tech-less autocast it, so you can't stop him, right? So then you just shoot their Sentinels off, and what's left?
Yeah. And they don't have a teleport, so you make them deploy first. You deploy out of range of Sentinels. It's Tech-less is a big base, but it's on some plans it's not that hard to hide them.
I would say even force yourself to go first. That way you can get the 5 board off. Yeah, I think that's too important.
That's fair too.
Because Tech-less is just going to die if you don't get that.
Tech-less has to go against the shooting list. They have to go first.
If they don't the other list doesn't have a teleport though.
There's no way to avoid Tech-less getting shot though. He's too big.
Really?
Yeah, it's just too big against 30 inch.
If you're on a classic Dawn of War, if you're on that 11-inch deployment plan.
Oh yeah, you definitely can't. Yeah. But we have a lot of diagonals. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. Could be battle plan dependent. All right, let's move on.
Yeah. This one's definitely someone you've seen pop up here before. It's Jeremy. I'm gonna butcher this. Vissier.
Lefebvre? Jeremy Viscera, yeah. Team
Viserys.
America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've probably heard him before. He's playing Soulblight, playing Legion of Blood here. He's got his Neferata, Manfred, Vampire Lord, pretty normal heroes you're gonna find. Running the Black Knights, like I've been saying, the Black Knights are really popular right now because they're not GV. So it's like, woo, they gotta glow up on that. Death Rattle Skeletons, some Blood Knights as a hammer, and some Graveguards for again more damage. Horrorghast, Cogs, Purple Sun. Pretty, it's a death army, and all that's really good.
Yeah, I'm seeing more and more of this list. I think this is the exact list because this past weekend was NashCon. I believe was it Joseph Pagano? I can't remember who it was, but
Probably
they basically
Pagano.
played this list. Yeah, Pagano played this exact same list. I mean, it was a 2-list format, but essentially
That's
this list.
interesting.
And it's
It's like a mix of everything.
I mean, it's you can see what it's trying to do. It's trying to take advantage of the Legion of Blood, like the lore for the vampire lore, it was just pretty good. Neferata and Manfred happen to be excellent casters. You take a vampire lord along with them, and then suddenly your Blood Knights become really good. Like Jack just talked about that combo, like making them unrunnable every turn, taking advantage of that is going to be great. Manfred's going to be great to just cause havoc amongst your opponents. Black Knights and Death Rattle Skeletons make excellent screens and objective grabbers. Graveguard, same thing. You just pop them out when you need to, and they just like come out of the graves and start killing stuff. And because Grave Lords have like a lot of even if my unit is completely dead, I will bring it back. That kind of mechanic going on. They can make a lot of stuff work. Plus, Horrorghast and Purple Sun of Shaiish, what's not to like? It's Purple Sun. Death is always a very magic heavy faction, and well in.
Yeah, and Cogs is huge there.
Cogs is huge. Yeah, there are there's 5 spells.
Before.
6, yeah, they have 6 spells in this list. So yeah.
Levitate.
Wonderful.
Can we talk about Levitate on Blood Knights and how important that is and how that's really subtle, but that's an important part of this list. Because with no shooting, what happens is you just hit screens. Your melee units just hit the screens and that's it. They stop. But with Levitate, not only can you charge past a screen, so you can get up 3 inches, right up to their front line, and then you just jump over it onto the other side. You fight stuff behind it, but you can also just make moves that you wouldn't normally be able to make. Right, a big part of screening and zone control in Age of Sigmar is the fact that enemies cannot move within 3 inches of you at all. Like normal moves, you just can't move within 3 inches. So if you just have like dudes in a line, melee armies cannot walk past you unless they're flying. And that's where Levitate comes in for board control, for getting the right charges. When you play a melee army, a pure melee army, how you charge is more important than actually making the charge. Because if you just charge in the front line and hit the screen, you've done almost nothing. You have to get the right charge at the right time. Melee armies take a lot more finesse, I would say, than shooting armies.
Yep. Also, there's the terrain. If you have a terrain-heavy board, being able to just ignore it in charges, in movement, it's pretty solid.
And Jack, you were at Boise. How's the terrain there?
About standard. Not a lot.
So not great.
So not much.
Well, I mean, it was okay, right? Like it was 8 pieces. They were about yay big.
Well, that's not bad then.
That's standard.
Yeah,
it was
not
bad.
I always see, you see those photos.
We see the memes.
It's like 3 pieces of terrain. It's basically a shooting gallery. It's like, really,
the terrain's
guys?
about a half-inch high.
It's basically not there until it's there.
It's like a bush.
Yeah, the
it gives you cover if you go on it.
The events up here in the Pacific Northwest tend to be pretty okay with the terrain.
That's good.
Like all the events
terrain
I've been to.
Yeah, like this past weekend, the terrain is pretty light, but they had like special rules. He had like markers under there, calling them obscuring, impassable. So like you did have some.
Yeah, in my area,
I'm seeing that more and more. Yeah.
Yes, it's so good to have those tokens. But anyway, sorry, terrain stuff to the side.
All right, let's see the match.
Yeah.
What is it?
We got Gloomspite Gitz first up. It was like a double loon boss. I mean, he wasn't gonna. So he's got 2 sets of fanatics, 1 reinforced one, and then he's got the Boingrot Bounders, and it's 3 sets that are reinforced. That's the real kind of big thing here. I just don't see them being able to eat through this.
It's another melee army. What are you gonna do?
It's a melee army. Yep. Blood Crusher, Spam, and Blades of Corn. Yeah.
Yep.
Look, I wish Blood Crushers were better, but until the new tome, the best way to run Corn right now is Bloodletters and 3 Bloodthirsters.
It was 8 MSU units of Blood Crushers, and I see what he's going for. As things die, you get the tithe. You're trying to drown in your cheap.
But even
stuff,
that is done better in demons. Just demons have a lot going for them. terms of
8
ability.
is the correct number to run.
Yeah, the corn number.
8.
Yeah,
Yep, never
I see what
mind.
you did.
My bad.
Yeah.
Shows you how terrible of a corn player I am. There we go.
Seraphon, Dracothian's Tail.
Yes.
Croxigors.
Croxigors.
Croxigors, I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
Questionable, I think. 2 sets of
Seraphon
Croxigors.
can actually give Soulblight a lot of trouble, but it has to be the right list.
Does
It
he
has to be
have
the
a Starseer?
So he does still have a Starseer.
Okay.
He's got a Starseer. Oh, 2 Slann Starmasters. I did not note that.
Yep.
2 Slann Starmasters.
This is a summon spam list.
Yep.
Yeah.
I see it now.
And it's going for 3d6 charges on the Croxigors and Salamanders after dropping them into play. So you teleport your Starseer forward, he gives them a 3d6 charge, and they're prosecutors at that point, basically.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, like the list. Yeah, this list is. I don't think Croxigors are worth it. I think he would have been just better off taking like Arc Engine of Sotek, Slann, a bunch of skink heroes, 30 skinks, and some salamanders. I think that would have been better. Served him better.
The double Slann, I'm not a fan of. People are trying to run Kroken's Land, because you want to give up a spell in order to summon, and it's just not efficient enough. And Seraphon are like Nighthaunt, you need as many bodies as possible. Like once you start cutting away, trying to get greedy with more spell casts and finesse, you just run short on bodies. Even if you're summoning, you're still playing from behind at that point. You need a good starting core, otherwise you're just going to fall behind.
All right. Looking at the next one here, we got Skaven, the good old Lauchon Thankful combo. We're seeing that a lot, along with Stormfiends for some more shooting. So it's shock and awe, right? Like this goes in, and it goes hard. It's got Lauchon, Cogs, Purple Sun. So you got the suite. They have plus $1 billion to cast. They get everything going off.
Is it a 1-drop list?
And it's a 1-drop. Yep. It's like I said, it's shock and awe.
So how does this Soulblight list, avoid Alpha Strike shooting? Because I would say that's one of the weaknesses here is that, Manfred can't be meleeed. Neferata can get her spell off to become very durable, but how does it deal with a 1-drop shooting list that can kill one of those pieces before they can do stuff?
I mean,
it probably relies on.
It obviously did, but I'm posing the question: how did it do it?
Yeah.
So it relies on using Finest Hour to avoid. So my guess is, was it 6 Raptors or was it 2 in this?
This one was Thankful with Lauchon and then 9 Stormfiends.
Stormfiends.
It was all in on the shooting.
Oh, okay. So Stormfiend.
I mean, they don't shoot farthest, so it's not, like they're going to be.
They shoot pretty far. They shoot like 32 effective, so they can shoot. But yeah, I think the idea is mainly to just avoid that and essentially play objectives and kill everything. So if you think about the Stormfiends, they will probably dump everything into one target to try and kill it. And you basically just try to not be like, okay, let's trade some pieces, except I can trade better than.
Okay. A good Finest Hour. Yeah, I would have liked to see that.
I mean, it would have been a good game. It's not an easy game to win. And Thankful is very, very good against like the usual kind of like mass units that this unit thing is going for. Stormfiends are obviously excellent. Like the wound density on a 4-up save is excellent, but it comes down to things like who got the double, who got this, and who got that.
Yeah. His next matchup, which I thought I would have really liked to see this game as well. It was Tom Guan on the list he's been running a lot recently. It's a very like if you think of Stormcast and you just close your eyes and think of a Stormcast list, this is the list that pops up.
Yeah,
right.
I watched.
Is this the
Raptors,
Four Fulminator, 10 Protector, Battle Regiment? Yeah.
He's got a Lord Relictor and a Battle Mage. Only 2 heroes you need, right? Like that's it. You just have those 2 heroes.
All the fat.
Yep.
ABC, always be charged.
Yep, always be charged. 4 Fulminators, 10 Protectors, 6 Raptors.
The problem with the list is it runs low on screens. Like when you go triple reinforced units, it just runs low on stuff and bodies, And then when you get hit, you just die.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the 2 Liberator screens and the 2 Aetherwing screens, so he can take up a lot of space against melee armies. To be fair.
So here's my issue, right? The weakness will be if so. Assuming, let's say, because Tom's going to give him first turn, but like, okay, you go first, right? You will become in unbinding range of the battle mage. You will most likely unbind. After that, the list mobility is kind of nerfed. B, because Tom is reinforcing his units, like the 4 Fulminators. 4 Fulminators are overkill for just about anything in this list. There's nothing in this list that 2 can handle. So if he can force the 4 Fulminators to massively overcommit and kill something, okay, next turn the Fulminators, or in the swing back the Fulminators.
Yeah.
And now Tom's traded 460 points for not that many.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. It's all commitment. It's overcommitment of resources.
The trades simply aren't that efficient. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the protectors are reliant on that Battle Mage Translocate combo pretty much. Like
plus you can do some plus you can do some silly crap too. Like let's say the Fulminators come close to you, you can charge what you need to kill them. So like let's say you charge 10 Blood Knights in the effort to kill them, but you also charge Manfred. When you charge Manfred, you teleport him out and you bring him 9 inches away from the Raptor. So when you get a double, you can kill the Raptor.
Yeah, I think that I can't play that list because I will get killed on the double turn every time.
Yeah. It's all about efficiency and commitment of the accurate amount of resources at the right time. And 4 Fulms, 10 Protectors is too much.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Soulblight Gravelords are already very good at like overloading Stormcast action, like where we want to place our resources. So we just like can't afford to like reinforce like it's like if I was trying to put 6 Annihilators, I wouldn't do that again.
Yeah.
It's just not a good thing.
I'd probably do something like cut Aether Wings, cut 2 of the Fulms, bring in Gardas and Vanquishers. I'd probably do something like that.
Vanquishers would be, I would actually Vanquishers would not be bad in this army at all. Yeah, I would actually I would have liked to see some, or at the least, I would have cut either the Protectors or the Fulminators. I don't think Protectors, in my opinion, I don't think the Protectors. When you play Protectors, you kind of have to lean into a bit of more of a Castly play style with like Paul just. I don't like the inclusion of Protectors. Yeah, sure. I would have probably gone either Judicator Crossbows or Vanquishers.
Yeah, Crossbow Fire support really good.
Crossbow Fire is very very good against Soulblight. Yep, Soulblight doesn't like it.
To that point though, Juana's really good at this list because this is the only game in this tournament he lost.
Also, let's be honest, Thomas Guan and Jeremy Becerra, they're 2 extremely good players.
Yeah, they're both good players.
We're talking about list mistakes and all that, but realistically, these are 2 highly experienced players who know what they're doing, who know what their weaknesses are in and out, and who know how to play the game and how to apply.
Yeah.
Like we said, oftentimes when you have games like this against 2 top-tier players, it'll come down to things like who got the double turn, who whiffed on their save rolls, who succeeded on their save rolls, who whiffed on their hits and wound rolls. It's a dice game. So I'm not gonna judge Tom. Obviously, he's 4-1, so like that's not a bad result at all.
It's just a
fun
thought experiment. That's all.
It's just a back and forth. I think Tom's putting too many resources when he decides to reinforce things, especially against something like Soulblight.
Would love to see that game. A lot of good matchups here I would have liked to watch.
Yeah, Boise seemed like it was a really good time. I'm gonna have to visit you, Jack.
Come out, man.
All right, let's move on. Next
list.
All
right. Next one, and this was one I was waiting to see this one because Suns is in a really interesting spot right now. So I know the statistics aren't like the most relevant. We're a very niche game. We're a niche game and a niche hobby and all that. But it is interesting to see how Suns have a high win rate and then a very low 4-0 record rate. So they're really good at smashing stuff, and then not as good at sealing the deal. So it's nice to see someone seal the deal here. So Ruben Parker came in second place at the Seasonal War Grand Tournament with the Taker Tribe. He's running Fosses of the Swamp, so he can run an extra artifact. And he had a Kraken Eater General with the Glowy Lantern is basically Arcane Tome and Flaming Weapon. The Gatebreaker with Arcane Tome, Flaming Weapon again for damage purposes, of course. A War Stompa, and then he ran. I've been seeing this a lot. The Bounty Hunter Triple Man Crusher tech, so they can go ahead and they do a lot of damage. They just do, and they're pretty good on their wounds efficiency. So them going around and messing up your GVs is really strong. I haven't seen it in person yet, but I've been hearing about this so much.
I understand what he went for, and looking at his matchups, I mean, obviously he won, so well done to him. I've been seeing that too, but I think I've seen that triple Man Crusher thing being dropped for a Kron. I think Gargans really, really benefit from a Kron on this. And, if this list were to go up against the triple Gargan Kronspine list, well, the Kronspine sort of just eats the Man.
This is interesting. I didn't think that Gargants would make a pivot into doing damage because they were never the damage army. They were the uninteractive retreat to win because I just count as more models than you army. So seeing it pivot into doing more damage is really interesting.
I disagree. Actually,
you don't think so?
I think yeah, because I'll tell you why. Gargant damage has never been bad. It's been very, very good. Almost all their damage exclusively is either -2 rend 3 damage or -2 rend 2, which is a great statistic to have. Plus they have like the death grip and the jump up and down that does D3 or D. Plus they have charge impact. Plus they have monstrous action. They have always been a good damage army because they don't bracket at all. And even if there are 2 wounds left on the Gargant, it has max lost like 3 attacks off of its top.
Yeah.
So instead of 9 attacks, they're doing 6. So in a game of attrition where you have 36 wounds to go through before you basically remove that attack profile, those 3 attack profiles entirely, they can stay there longer and keep doing damage more so than other armies. It was just better for them to play the objective game because why wouldn't you if you can guaranteed win the objective game? But it's never that they can do damage. There was one Gargant player at our last Open that I just played. I beat him in round 4?
I think it was
round 3. Sorry, round 3. Yeah, round 3. But essentially, he's going around tabling everything.
Round 3.
And he can because they just have to lean more into that damage now. And because they have like monstrous actions to accompany that, they typically will.
Well, we are in a roar meta.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, monsters just became really, really good thanks to Arms of the Heartland. And so Gargants will have the damage to kill you.
And they're immune to Purple Sun, right? They have the no instant
kill. They basically take D6. Yep. They take
I think even the little man crushers do, right?
Yep. The man crushers don't. Man crushers
they don't. Okay.
Yeah. But the problem is Kronspine. Kronspine, the minute you start playing Kronspine into Gargants, that's when it gets hairy for because that's the one monster that they can't get rid of. If you start running man crushers into Kronspine, that's game over. Yep. Like you kill a man crusher, you're level 3. So it's game over.
Yeah.
No, let's look at the win path here. First match against Iron Suns, Brutes, Ardboys. I think we know how that matchup's going to go at this point. Everybody should know Ironjawz and what they do. And have they been getting any 5-0 results, Ironjawz, lately? Like, I can't remember the last time I saw like a really heavy, like, this is such a cool Ironjawz list. Like,
no, I think they're such a straightforward army. There's way too many weaknesses, I think, at this point. And with the Kronspine in the meta, there's no way they can go 5.
I think their best list is pretty much the same list from a year ago. And we all know how to play against it now. We've all learned some screening because of that. It was a good thing for the game because everyone had to get some basic screening knowledge. Look, they probably didn't have to.
I don't want to say that our video on how to counter Ironjawz killed that faction, but, you know, the timeline kind of matches up.
I mean, they still do well against a lot of the power armies. Like, I think Ironjawz can actually deal a serious amount of hurt to Nighthaunt.
Oh, yeah.
Like, even though Nighthaunt has so many tools, I think Ironjawz is one of those, like, straightforward armies that has the movement over them to just, like, go kill them. Especially on those long-form deployment maps.
It's like a gatekeeper army. Like, if you can't beat Ironjawz, why are you bringing this list? You know?
Yes. Yes. But at the same time, they are so one-dimensional. They can often get...
Yeah.
And obviously, like, I see they're playing Brutes, Ardboys, Pigs mix. No, I think you can include maybe some Ardboys as screens, but you just gotta go full pig all the time.
Yeah, full pigs. Just the same list you've been seeing.
Do you think the Brutes are there because Nighthaunt is so prevalent? Do you think they're a tech piece against that, the one wound ability?
I think so.
A little bit.
I think so. That and like possible zombie list.
Yeah, I think it's fine to have one unit of it just for GV purposes. It's good to have because at some point you kill the enemy army, and then you still have to do tactics to score points to get, you know, higher placing in the tournament. So I think a GV is still important to keep in an Ironjawz army.
I can see it.
Yeah, but Ardboys do that just fine. Like, that's what the first list that I beat. He actually went 4-1 pretty well, but he had like, I think he had 10 Ardboys or 2 units of 5 Ardboys and expert. That's like, great, you have a screen, and if I ignore them, then they'll just outscore anything I have on it. I can't truly. It's fine.
In our chat here, Coach is saying a lot of Ironjawz players seem to be switching to Big Wah, and I can see it, man, because when you can bring shooting to tear down screens, that's a lot more valuable than the extra mobility.
When you bring down Cruel Boys, Cruel Boys will do a number.
I couldn't pick every 5-0 from the past season, but I did see Noah got a 5-0, I think this weekend.
Jeevan Noah. Jeevan Noah Singh.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
And
he's probably playing Ironjawz the amount of same time as I've been playing Annihilator. So yeah, he's
it
really
was
good
an
at that.
interesting list. I was looking at it. It was a very good mix of like Cruel Boys and Ironjawz. He had some I think it was Bolt Boys in there, to give it some shooting. It was interesting.
Yeah. I think Big Wall is the way to go for.
Mhm.
Alright. So Sons of Behemat against Thunder Lizard with Croak, Engine, and 2 Bastillodons. That list doesn't do enough damage to kill Gargants. Next.
Nope.
It
was yeah.
Lumineth.
It was the
What are they,
Zytran.
like
Source Knights
-1
list.
rend across the board? Right? How are they getting past? Right?
Yeah, it was with Source Knights, so they did actually have like I've seen a lot of Seraphon players still taking Skinks, but he actually did go for Source Knights.
Oh, yeah, so he
Okay.
doesn't have -2 rend. Okay, he doesn't have enough mortal wounds.
He doesn't have the
That-
damage,
that's a
period.
poor gun.
Bastillodons
Yeah.
are like laser precise damage. They're not mass damage needed to kill 3 Gargants, 3 Mega Gargants.
Mhm.
So, yeah. And Croak is the same
Techless
thing.
Incarnate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lumineth
Sentinels.
Rumroids, Techless.
Sentinels
was
don't have the
melee.
damage to kill Gargants.
Nope.
They just don't.
The
They kill half a
Incarnate does,
Gargant
but-
per turn.
Yeah, the Incarnate does, but if you can save stack, because this guy has like Arcane Tome, so if you can go Finest Hour, Mystic Shield, and all-out defense, obviously like supposing Roar doesn't go off, they can tank an Incarnate, like it's possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Mhm.
Next one was a Flesh Eater Quartz list that also had an Incarnate. See Incarnate just popping up everywhere.
I know, man.
It's only $60. Pre-order now.
Yeah, pre-order now.
Get your best anvil in the game. Only $60.
This was no Terrorgeist too, so they didn't have
Huh.
much in the way of like spike damage either. And it was running Suffocating Gravetide, so I thought that was kind of interesting. But some Crypt Flayers, Crypt Ghouls. So it was double reinforced Crypt Horrors, double reinforced Crypt Flayers, just not enough damage.
Roar is
Yeah,
so
no.
good
Damage
against
cap.
commands that make you fight twice.
Yeah.
It turns out. Yeah.
Turns out Roar is pretty good.
And then the last one was the
Bones.
But yeah, Bone
Same thing.
Splitters list, Boar Boys, Stabbas, and triple Big Boss. I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with what Savage Big Bosses do.
Is that for the
Bring it
shoulder
up.
charge
This
thing?
is Savage. Wait, are you talking about Savage Big Boss
Savage
or
Big
Savage
Bosses. He had 4 of them. My bad. He had one as the general, and then 3 more Savage Big Bosses.
It's
but-
basically I don't know why it's like an immediate fight. It's like when the big boss fights, he picks a Bone Splitter unit and that immediately. So he's going, and the boss has 6 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, 2. So he's going for like, so he's going for like some double activation, just add a bit of extra damage to Bone Splitters, who generally lack accurate or high range.
Got to do
Yeah,
some
especially when you've
research
got
on
a lot
this.
of MSU.
Iceborne obviously to try to negate wards, right? That's what
Yep,
they're
that
going
one
for.
for sure.
And I think that's going to
Yeah.
work in a lot of matchups. Like Gotrik's going to hate that. Oh man.
Yeah,
that's
Nighthaunt's
funny.
gonna hate that.
Turns out Gargants without a ward don't care.
Yeah, they don't really care.
Hey guys, I gotta bounce.
Cool, dude.
I got a thing.
All right, I'll catch you later. Trevor.
Later, guys.
All right, well done to Ruben. Then.
yeah.
Yeah. All in all, great victory.
Good stuff. Second place, but still 5-0. Pretty
Next
cool.
up,
And this is way more interesting to see than some of the 4 Mega Guards. My God,
For
this
real.
match is horrible
Yeah.
to just watch from a player's perspective.
we've
Sure.
seen more change from season 1 than we have in any edition launch in the game. Like the difference between last year and this year's list are like night and day. Like,
Phenomenal.
It's
Yeah.
blown everything open.
Phenomenal.
We're not just there's the Lumineth list. It has Techless, 30 Sentinels, a Fox. Like it was all cookie cutter. Every army was cookie cutter, and now it's like we can have completely different lists from the same faction. It feels so good. It just feels good.
Yeah. And if you'll notice throughout all these lists, there is an awesome mix of battalions. There's 1 drops, there's 3 drops, there's
Mhm.
8 drops, all drops. Look at this. This is a warlord, battle regiment expert conquerors full on. Some of the last lists were mixes, and it's really cool to see. I love this meta right now. But anyways, this one was first place in the Season War Grand Tournament. Of course, Ridge, who's on that Season War team, took it. Real great job on Seraphon with Fangs of Sotek. Pretty interesting to see.
Yeah,
let's see,
I saw that this list. This is what he played this past weekend, and
It's that parting shot, man.
he
It's
got
brutal.
5-0. It's brutal. Okay, when I look at this list, what I see is there's no weakness. It performs in every phase. It has tools in the magic phase. It has in the shooting phase. It's in the combat phase. What are you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if I'm playing Annihilators into this. What do I even do?
Yeah, the parting shot really hurts. But what does this do against an Incarnate? Like charging into those 30 skinks who try to parting shot and then they can't retreat? That's pretty
Yeah,
rough.
I mean that's fair. That's fair. I mean, at least this has some shooting to help deal with an Incarnate, because you can still shoot out the Incarnate.
Salamanders are excellent shooting. Yeah, 36.
If it gets stuck on the skinks, you shoot it again and it's gone. So I can see this dealing with it pretty well.
Real talk. If we're a Stormcast, what do we do again?
Kill the heroes.
Kill the heroes as much
Easy.
as we can.
Yeah, just kill those
skinks.
Kill the skinks. Kill the skink heroes and kill the Ashfrith Bearer, and that severely limits their power. Salamanders have a defined threat range. Without the skink priest to give them a run in charge and shoot, then they're only going, I think, 8 inches and then shooting 12, like 20 inch, easy to screen out, right? You don't have to worry about that. Bastiladon with Arc of Sotek is, to Stormcast, it's not a threat, like we don't care, we just ignore it. So yeah, you just shoot the Star Priest, you shoot the Skink Priest, which is easier said than done because they're going to be hidden pretty well behind the terrain. But with Deep Strike or Teleport shooting, you can manage, right? You can't screen everything out. Just saying the general strategy would be to do that. Sure. If you want to, you can shoot the Saurus Guard and then shoot the Slann, because the Slann is a linchpin for a lot of this. He's going to be casting through the other guys. He's going to be doing Comet's Calls and Mystic Shields on the Bastiladon, probably trying to tank a whole bunch of stuff. Like it's the tricky part is when it starts resummoning things, right? Like you can deal crippling damage, but then it's going to resummon another Salamander. It's going to add in things throughout the game, so you have to deal decisive damage to it. The Jaws are an interesting pick. Really interesting.
Yep. Just about to say that. I like that.
That's got to be against specific lists that you're looking at playing against, because there's other ways to spend.
No, Jaws is, I actually like Jaws. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Don't one of these kings, unless I'm very much getting confused, have a thing to half movement?
Star Priest
like
doesn't,
a spell
Priest
to half
doesn't.
movement.
Off the top of my head, maybe one of the Slann spells does. It's been a while since I've looked at that spell lore. I don't.
So if there's anything that halves movement, what are the weaknesses of this list? Things like Gargants. You can take down Gargants with that half their movement, and then I'll Jaws you. And then if you can put 2 turns of 10, 20 mortal wounds into them, that's game over.
I've been playing too much Stormcast. I can't remember if there's this land spell that halves movement. Off the top of my head, I can't see one. I know the shards would be good with that. But I think what the Jaws are going for is that you get an extra 6-inch casting range with the Ashfrith Bearer, so that kind of eliminates one of the weaknesses of the Jaws, where it's an inconsistent whether it actually does anything at all. Even if it you have to get to the target and then you have to roll over its movement, and that gets rid of one of those stipulations. So that I can see it. Yeah, you curse something, you throw 30 skinks at it with Star Priest buffs, Hand of Glory to reroll ones, one of the few sources of rerolling.
I mean, and this list is a perfect encapsulation of why Seraphon have always been busted. You can when you look at this list, you understand why they have a 60%, 65% win rate, is because this list will quite literally interact with you in every phase. Yeah. And you have to take out their key targets or they will kill you. And they have summoning on top of that, and just a whole host of allegiance abilities and mortal wounds. And it's tough. Seraphon is always a tough man.
I think a lot of the reason Seraphon are tough is because they're intricate. They're not obvious what you're supposed to do against them, and most people, they don't play Seraphon, so they don't know how to counter it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that if you play Seraphon, you'll automatically know how to beat it. It's still a tough matchup by all means, but it's a lot of it is knowledge, right? It's not obvious that the Skink Priest is the number one target if you're playing Stormcast. Skink Priest has to die, because he's the one who gives the Salamanders an extra 6-inch move, which is how they're going to actually do any meaningful damage. So a lot of people won't know that, and they'll make that mistake. But I think if you're going to a GT, you assume your opponent's going to know what to do, and you're going to hide him properly. Yeah. Fangs of Sotek is definitely an interesting choice, because there's always the toss-up between that and Dracothian's Tail, and it's do you want the reserve shooting and then 3d6 charge with the Starseer, or do you want the parting shot? And it looks like Ridge wanted the parting shot, and can't blame him. Looking at the meta, there's a lot of armies right now that would hate being shot by skinks as they charge in.
That's a dipping. Well, he did face Skaven twice in the first bit. The first one was Lauchon, Thankful, Stormfiends, very similar to the previous list. But then the second one was Thankful and a Warbringer, so no Lauchon. And Sensor Bearers, which I don't know if you looked at Sensor Bearers damage, but it's quite a lot. But I can see why this list in particular can handle it. I mean, you can take them out really easily.
If you ever roll a 4+ on the parting shot, Sensor Bearers don't matter.
Yeah. So I imagine Skaven was actually kind of an easy matchup for him, if I'll be honest.
If you
could take
deploy
out the hero.
properly, you stick your best on up front to zone out so that his Thanquol can't just walk up and roast your block of 30 skinks. If you deploy properly, if you know what your opponent can do, I don't want to say it's an easy matchup because Skaven does have pretty good unbinding, and this list is using a lot of spells that are going to be high impact and using them well. It's not an easy matchup, but there's a path that you can follow. There's like a methodology.
I think the problem is it comes down to things like they both have mortal wounds, they both have good shooting, except Seraphon has some summoning for late game objectives and Skaven doesn't. So the game will go to Seraphon as the tide of battle event.
It's almost a question of, do you even bait the Thanquol in to roast your 30 skinks and then your 2 salamander packs or your 4 salamander packs jump on them and finish them off? And then because you're going to be resummoning skinks throughout the game, and it's like, do you trade your knight for their rook, basically? What do you value? Like that's the kind of questions you'd be asking. And then against double Stonehorn Frost Sabers, no Kragnos, no problem. It's a melee army. Okay, Kragnos, great.
Yeah, great, wonderful.
Yep.
Against Ironjawz, Ironjawz can't touch.
No Kragnos, no problem. Like you can only charge so far. That's it. That's the game. Okay. See you next match.
Sylvaneth might be a good matchup, but Seraphon, I think, are one of the hard counters to Spellslinger, is because they can also unbind from anywhere on.
Yep. Not only that, they do a lot of mortal wounds that ignore line of sight. So they're going to be pinging stuff with Comet's Call. They're going to be, it's rough. And when the skinks get charged,
can play a bit of a healing game because they do have healing built into their allegiance abilities. But Sylvaneth is way too elite, and Sylvaneth has almost no mortal wound defense if they're not taking Lady of Vines. So eventually the mortal wounds will win out.
There wasn't a lot of wounds here either, because it was the only battle line is 2 Kurnoth Horner MSU Great Bows and then the sides, 6 sides.
Oh, Great Bows. So Great Bows I think are bad.
Yeah, I don't think this was the play, and he would have taken out all of that too easily.
I can definitely say one of the weaknesses of this list would be if you can't get your curse off, how do you kill a Gargant? Does it do enough damage? I wonder.
That's fair.
Like you have to get all of your shooting focused on one target at a time, and that target can't have Mystic Shield and Finest Hour active.
No, that curse is how you beat them. You just go for the double, and you have enough screens to do it, so you can try for it.
Yeah, the Ravenax probably helps.
Plus, Parting Shot is actually a pretty good tool again, because there's nothing they can do again.
I want to start playing Seraphon again. I've been doing too much Stormcast lately. Before the new book ruins it. You know the new book's gonna ruin it.
But congrats to Ridge, man. He's a good player. He just played this list to a 5-0 finish this past weekend too. So
yeah, he's been a Seraphon player for a long time. He knows stuff.
All right, moving on.
All right.
We have a Cities of Sigmar Living City list, and that's great because I thought Living City was dead after that nerf. So let's see how they pivoted.
Yeah, this one was at the gateway.
Battle Mage.
Hey, look, it's the best Stormcast unit.
It's the best Stormcast wizard.
Yeah, it's the best Stormcast S tier hero in Stormcast. He's got a battle regiment with Bounty Hunters. He's got a 3-drop with an Anointed Frost Armor Phoenix. Really good. We all know it's good with the Arcane Tome. Battle Mage, of course, to enable, like, even if you have to use Living City, because if you hadn't seen it, Living City now, when you move after shooting, you have to end 9 inches away. So you're at like a normal beep strike distance. Well, why not just use, some bonuses to charge to help you out, like Battle Mage, and boom, 7-inch charge. Yep. You can give it rerolls, Annihilator chances, right? You got Sorceress, good to have 10 Dread Spears to fill out the battle line. And then the real pieces here, a 4-block of Storm Dread Guard, really good. I've been running them a lot recently, and Gotrek, who can be a bounty hunter because he's just a troop, just a regular old guy.
Does he need to be a bounty hunter?
To cap it off.
Like, how much does bounty hunter help him?
It's again, melee armies, they can't touch the Storm Dread Guard because Frostguard Phoenix turns out is a really, really good hero to have with a 9-inch. It's basically giving him Master of the Celestial Menagerie.
Yeah.
Surrounding the Storm Dread Guard.
It's good. Even Gotrek on a -1 to wound. Why does he doesn't need that, he
doesn't need that, but he has it.
Do you guys think the Purple Sun is warranted here? Because what's the best caster? Battle Mage +1?
Yeah,
That's a rough cast.
I was thinking it was
Well,
just because it's good.
Sorceress could, because Sorceress, doesn't she get a +1 or
Oh,
+2
you're right.
if
Yeah,
you
'cause
sacrifice it from
she can kill the Dread Spears, and yeah, you're right. Okay,
Oh,
I can
okay.
see it now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Missed that interaction
Full
for a second.
sacrifice. Let's go.
My eyes just glaze over, like, oh, here's the min battle line.
Yeah.
This.
So Sorceress probably does that. And I don't think the Purple Sun helps him out here because it's just a lot of mortal wounds mostly.
Yeah.
But sure, why not?
Yeah.
Like if you have 70 points, what better spell to take really?
Well, look, you're
It's
going
good
to a
right now.
tournament. You need a Purple Sun. That's just the rule. It's in there. It's in the core rules. You
Yeah.
know, under the
Yeah.
spell
Yeah,
section, your list has to have a Purple Sun.
Yeah. So funny enough, I saw this guy play because I know Ryan Kevin. I saw like periodically when my games finish, I like walked over to his table. In Drossar Protectors, he faced a good friend, Dylan. I think Purple Sun just like wrecked him. That list had I think 10 Protectors, Lord Imperatant, some Annihilators, bunch of Vindictors. I want to say Skybolt Judicators and 2 units of 5.
2 Skybolts. Yeah.
Yep.
So
So he just didn't have the damage to kill Stormdrake. Like you need like that mass concentration, and Dylan just never had the reach on him.
Oh, the Stormdrake
Gloomspite
guard just melt Annihilators with Unleash Hell too. That's such a rough matchup if you don't have a chaff unit.
Yeah, plus the -1 to wound. You're just like taking all your fish.
Not
rough.
Yeah.
Then it was Gloomspite Gits. Again, Sean basically has a bunch of heroes, and he has a bunch of Grots, and Bounty Hunter Stormdrake Guard will just chew that all day.
Yeah.
And Gotrek is Gotrek. They can't hurt. Nighthaunt, Scarlet Doom, all under Herodins. This was my friend Laurent.
This seems tough
because
Scarlet Doom can melt Stormdrakes.
Yeah.
Scarlet Doom can. The problem again happened to be it was one of those. This was the 3rd mission, so this was Silksteel Nests, I think.
Mhm.
It was the one where it has 6 objectives.
It goes around, yeah.
So Laurent had to stretch out. This guy had to stretch out, except he can really just like because Stormdrake Guard is just so huge on the area they occupy. It's like a wall of dragons coming towards you with a -1 to wound. Nighthaunt hate -1 to wound because everything in the army wounds on 3s, and the minute you take that efficiency out to 4s, it's a horrible time.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention,
especially the Herodins.
4 Dragon Breaths is like really, really good against. Who would have thought?
When they can't discorporate too, -1 to wound is like, hey, your blade guys, now they're liberators.
They're liberators. Yeah, exactly. And plus when you have Gotrek just running up, because all he did in that game, I think he didn't even charge. He just like auto ran him 6. Just near. So if you come near my dragons, Gotrek is gonna stick you. And there's not much Nighthaunt can do after. Legion of the First Prince. I did not fully see this game, but I think Legion of the First Prince was like a Bloodthirster, Kairos, Bellicor, and it
was
like
the 3 usual
4
heroes,
big demons and a bunch
Scribes,
of chaff.
and Epitome,
Mm-hmm.
And then only.
But that list is trying to win off of. That list is trying to win off of like Kairos, trying to go Umbral Spell Portal and kill you.
That's not.
And guess what? Avoids mortal wounds.
Yeah.
It's Stormdrake Guard and Gotrek. They avoid mortal wounds from spells like crazy. So I think you would just like outlast him eventually. Because that list doesn't have enough melee power. And then finally, Hammers of Sigmar. This was John with his Kroncast list: 4 Tempestors and Krondis and Liberators and Crossbow Adjudicators. John actually played this pretty well. He got the Purple Sun off. The Stormdrake Guard did not avoid it with their 4-up. Dropped down the 4 Tempestors. He shot 3 of them off. Unfortunately, Ryan rallied 3 back the next turn. And
I hate rally, dude.
So that meant the Tempestors were dead the next turn, and after that, Krondis soon followed. But John played a good game. I think by the end of it, John played a good game.
Like, to be fair, it is a dice game. He failed the ignore on the Purple Sun, and then he get rallied back. It's like it swings high, it swings low. But man, rally needs to change. This is so stupid. But you know what? To be fair, he could have played around it. He could have tied him up in combat somehow, and then they couldn't rally. So maybe that was his mistake, is not playing for that out.
So John's not. John doesn't try to charge unless he has to. So he didn't charge Krondis because he was afraid. He sort of kept Krondis a little bit back because he was afraid that the Stormdrake Guard would breathe on if he got him, and he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So he sort of hedged against, and that he didn't expect a 666 on rally. Nobody really does.
Yeah,
it's like me rallying 3 Raptors back at LVO. It's like after that you just quit. You can't really do anything. There's no real counterplay.
It sounds like 2 good players with 2 good lists, and it came down to dice, and can't really Can't complain about that, right?
Can't fault anyone. Yeah, it happened.
Right on.
Absolutely.
I'm glad to see Living City is still a thing. Not like
That was
Still
cool.
relevant.
and it's not oppressively strong either, right? Like this feels fair. It doesn't feel broken. I think.
Yeah,
see.
no, I think it's totally fine.
Maybe I gotta play against
But,
it, and then I'll feel otherwise.
All right,
Oh, who's this fellow?
Ragog, I think you should probably take this one. I think.
Yeah, what is this list? I haven't seen this one.
What is this sub faction? I don't think I've seen this before.
Yeah.
It's
Knights
not
of
Hammers of
Sigmar.
Sigmar. Is there other factions?
No,
Where's the Gardas? I'm
There's
so
other
confused.
Yeah, there's no Gardas either.
there's no Guardians. This is the good lord. What is it? 6th, 7th iteration of the an Islander Grande list that I've been making. The latest happens to be thanks to the TBV change, Thunderbolt Volley change. Switch up the Raptors into 2. Bring out some Stormdrake Guard to drop the 30 of Annihilators and a Liberator unit to bring out Stormdrake Guard, and put in a Horror Ghast. And the main reason is I don't think screens are as important anymore. Like I think this list plays so cagily in the first 2 turns. If they're getting to your screens, they probably hemmed you in and you're gonna die. So minimal screens. It also takes some Vanquishers and Bounty Hunters because Vanquishers are wicked good with Call for Aid. And so the plan is still the same. You just snipe them from a distance away. Stormdrake Guard are an excellent anvil. They actually make a good screen. I actually end up using them as a screen for the first 2 or 3 turns. First couple of turns at least. And then they sort of go out and, fetch targets with and work alongside Annihilators to just do that critical bit of damage to take down targets. And over the course of the weekend, I faced Ironjawz. This was lots of pigs and a single Maw Crusher. Just kill the pigs. Horror Ghast turned out to be MVP in this because, they lose 2 pigs, they're gonna run away. Their stuff is gonna run away. Then I faced Sylvaneth Heartwood. This was a very tough match because he had Spellsinger, he had a Drysha, he had a unit of 6 sides, and he had a unit of 6 Buglands. And I was a bit afraid of this one. This matchup did scare me a little. Unfortunately, this happened to be the match called the Realmstone Cache, where there's one objective. And so even the deployment is like kind of like you're hemmed into this box. So they couldn't really like spread out. The Spellsinger had to be in range of my Night Incanter. So I did unbound the auto, like his like really high cast that lets him put out a Wood Zealot because I knew that came out. The game was
nice.
And from then on, I completely ignored the sides. I just killed everything else. Thunderbolt Volley with some Raptors took down Drysha in the shooting phase and the hero phase. I dropped down some Annihilators, made a 10 on my charge against the bugs, killed about 5 bugs. Did not get any of my spells off, even though I got him on like 8s and 9s because he was got really good on binding rolls.
Hey, you know what? You don't make your
And
spells,
then after
but you
that,
make your charges.
I put out some bait for him in the form of when I kept 1 Raptor unit in the sky and I dropped it down on the left flank, sort of like, hey, maybe if a rejective lands here, I'll grab it with my Raptors. And he took the bait and he took the 2 units of I think Tree Revenants or whatever.
Yeah, Tree Revenants.
The 5-man squads.
Yeah.
He took them out and he tried to land 9 inches away from my Annihilators, tried to threaten them. That opened a spot for my Annihilators to come in and kill his Warsong with the charge and the drop. And once that happened, the game was over. He basically, at the end of it, and then he charged my Raptors the next turn. I killed 3 of them on Unleash. He didn't kill all my Raptors with the attacks Revenant. I killed his Warsong Revenant. Stormdrake Guard come in, Draconic Onslaught, make an 8-inch charge, go into his remaining bugs, finish them off. Yeah, the game's over. He only has Karnat left. All his heroes are dead. So yeah, there's not much he can do really. He played it well, but I think he took him taking the bait to try to kill my 3 Raptors despite Revenants. I think that cost him the game.
Let me
then
ask
after
you 2
that, I
questions
faced Sons
real
of
quick
Behemat.
here. How important do you think the Redemption Brotherhood was in this list? Because this is a relatively new tech for this archetype.
Right. So this is me trying to. So there are some armies like Seraphon that are trying to, like you saw Ridge Hannah's list. That's also like an 8-drop. This was a very weird attempt to try to compete to see if I could get attacker and then see if I could outdrop some list. It did actually end up mattering in a couple of engagements, but overall it didn't matter. I think everyone was running Battle Regiment plus Bounty or Battle Regiment.
Mm-hmm.
Would you consider going 7-drop, moving the Aether Wings into the Brotherhood?
No. Oh, you mean run a command? On
Like go to
Josh?
command, yeah.
Yeah. I could see 7-drop. If you wanted to do this, you could go 7. Honestly, I'm considering Battle Regimented Bounty Hunter. Like,
That's
I don't
what
know.
I've been
Call for
Maybe
aid,
drop
man. Call for aid.
Call for it. Yeah, like I'm considering like combining the Raptors into 6 just for going
Yeah.
Thunderbolt Volley and then going Call for 8.
That's what I've been playing, but I've been doing like an Incarnate list, so it kind of works better on that.
Yeah, but honestly, if you still want to play it, it's a good play style. What I did notice was like after you lose the Aether Wing, like you lose some efficiency from the Raptors because you can only allow attack.
Mm-hmm.
It matters in some matchups. It matters. So in matchup number 3, I think his name's Walker. He's been playing Gargants for a long time. That's all he plays. He played it last year. He played it the year before that. And he basically tabled everyone else that he. And luckily, this was the match with 8 objectives. So
Dang, good matchups.
Yeah, once he pushes his Gargants out, I did not even try to kill his Gargants the first 2 turns. Just focus on dropping things, claiming objectives, burning objectives. And this is where the dragons actually came in a bit useful, because when he came close, I was able to do some mortal wounds, charges, roar, annihilators come in, dragons absorb the unleash hell. I mean, not absorb, he doesn't bother unleashing hell because I have the mystic shielded. And dragons roar the Gargants. Gargants can't all out defense. Annihilators come in, -2 rend 3 damage, and that's a Gargant down each turn.
Yeah, the monster.
I think that combo
so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that really turned that game around. The dragons living and getting to do that really turned the game.
Because we've talked a lot
and
about
I did make some like deadly
what you would take instead of the Stormdrake Guard, like chariots or Kronspine. There's all kinds of options. Would you consider 2 chariots instead of 2 Stormdrake Guard, or do you think the roar is too important?
Yeah, I could see it. Yeah, easily.
Okay.
It's just I think of them as 2 separate dragons that can go apart from each other if they have. At best case. I did make some good charges against Walker. Like one time I made like a 9-inch charge, I think, with Annihilators. And on the 4-ups to Mortal Wounds, I didn't miss a single one.
Jeez.
So I did, with the drop and with the Mortal Wounds, I did about 12 Mortal Wounds before combat unit. And
Gotta love that.
So that's pretty rough.
It's good to see this archetype has
yeah,
the damage to kill Gargants, because that's one of the things we were worried about, right? Was the DPS.
Yeah. Check. Also, like what I really hate is the fact that well, not hate, but it's like if I'd faced him on a 3 objective mission, it would have been a lot harder. The game would have been versus an 8 objective or a 6 objective. So I think that played in my favor. Then I played Blades of Khorne the next day. This was a tough match. Daniel Pitt is a very good player. He had 2 units of 20 Bloodletters, 2 units of Untamed Beasts as screen. He had an Insensate Rage, Unfettered Fury, Scarbrand, Slaughter Priest, Bloodsucker. And the combo here is wickedly simple. I think the Unfettered Fury Bloodthirster gives every Khorne demon with 16, wholly within 16, 6-inch pylon. His command ability for his subfaction, I think, lets him fight first. No, lets him fight twice.
Yeah, Reapers is fight twice.
Yeah, lets him fight twice.
Okay, that's what.
Yeah, Reapers is fight twice. And then obviously Scarbrand just for damage. And then he has the Boom Thruster that just does the bubble mortal wounds to everything. Should it make its wound rolls of 6s? And yeah, the strategy against this, he's a good player. We face this on Prize of Gillette, which is like what I like to call the premium mission for 3.0. It's I think what everyone should play. And yeah, this just ended up being a bunch of back and forth stuff with him summoning, me, trying to kill stuff as fast as possible. And unfortunately, it turned out in my favor because the Annihilators. This is the one where I actually missed one Annihilator. That hurt.
Huh.
That really hurt.
11 out of 12.
And
baby.
then I got doubled. Then I got doubled. But fortunately, he did not kill Stormdrake with his Bloodletter. Because what he did was he killed my Vanquishers with like the whip or something, with a whip and like a charge. I used Call for Aid, and I called my Vanquishers right in front of the Stormdrake. So he had to charge the Vanquishers, and he had to try to kill the Stormdrake Guard and the Vanquishers, and the Vanquishers would kill him back on the riposte. So he couldn't get all of his attacks with the Bloodletter, and that really helped.
Nice.
But yeah, this ended up being like a massive slogfest, just killing, and then I eventually got ahead on. But yeah, the power of Khorne is not something to underestimate. Like I essentially had to really focus down the 2 mechanically good Bloodthirst before I could do anything. And yeah, I think Daniel also like maybe he deployed a little bit like too conservatively. Like I thought he would deploy really aggressively, try to go full send. but he actually deployed his stuff really far back. So he was actually not in a position to really take advantage of a double turn, even if he won. But I really got to see the power of the new Blood Tide table firsthand. Like him, like being his Blood Tide not emptying mean he could use like 2 Blood Tide or 3 Blood Tide to like fight immediately, 3 Blood Tide to normal move in the hero phase with something. It's pretty incredible. So yeah, well, well played to him. It was one of the closest games I had.
Yeah.
And finally, I faced Daughters of Cain. Azimthar Kai. This was on, I think, Won't Back Down, which is a long ways deployment. And my opponent, instead of deploying, I guess, aggressively, which is what I expect with Daughters of Cain to do, because they can't afford to just sit back against Stormkeep. He deployed really far back. He basically made a center with a lot of Bloodstalkers, Marathis out front, Blood Medusa, Blood Sisters on the side, and 2 Witch Elves screening out. I Thunderbolt Volley 1 Witch Elf off the board, dropped my Vanquishers. They killed the 10 Blood Sisters, being in Bounty Hunters. They die back. They die on the Zainthar Kai swing back, and I bring them back with Call for Aid using the Lord. Raptors put 3 wounds on Marath. On his turn, I had measured it out, so I was like something like 40 inches away, like from his stalkers. So there was nothing he could shoot, like absolutely. And then he wins the double, and he still can't shoot anything because I'm like 40.5 inches away. So when I get the turn, I charge my Annihilators. Dragons do their thing. Basically, by the end of my turn 2, he had nothing but Marath. So there was no way he could win.
This matchup is a reason you should not go Battle Regiment and keep Thunderbolt Volley Call for Aid. Sounds crucial to your strategy.
Yeah, exactly. Like counter deploying to whatever he had is very important. Especially, yeah, because there was like there was nothing he could do. I even like baited out, gave him some bait. I put my head and counter out so I could unbind something that I really needed to, in case he had like, I don't know, like Black Horror Ulgu or something, because that has 36 inch, remembering correctly. So yeah, I mean, I've faced like the Daughters of Cain 15, the Bloodstalker Marathi Motrek list before, and I think an Aliena Grande is always favored in because you just have a lot of excellent positioning tools. Yeah, and they can't do much really. Plus the Horror Gas really helped because I did not kill all the Bloodstalkers. I killed about 9 of them, but yeah, because he also unleashed hell and killed like some Annihilators or something. But the Horror Gas being wholly within 12 of him, meaning
nice.
Okay, see? you're gonna lose D6 plus 3.
That's
D3.
why we bring it, man. That's why the Horror Gas is there, because this list does not quite enough damage to kill like a block of 15 snakes, and the Horror Gas just tips it right over the edge.
Nice, man.
Yep, because I think he rolled a 4, so meaning he would have lost 5 more, and then D3 2, so 7. That's perfect. 16 Bloodstalkers, so 15.
Jeez, nice.
Yep, that's why we rated it so good.
Yeah, it's Horror Gas. Yeah, like this is. I wish they had this at LVO against 120 zombie. It would have been glorious. But we'll get
Dan in the chat.
But yeah, all in all, just
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. What was it? Benjamin Falls.
Oh,
no.
My buddy Ben. He won the RTT last weekend. I didn't include your list, bud. We were trying to keep it like a little short, kind of a little snapshot of things. But I do want to mention your list just because it was really cool. He takes a Quicksilver Dead Harridan's list with an Incarnate. So his whole thing is get past those wards. You might have seen it at ATC. He was at ATC. Mergong, I don't know if you saw.
Wait, Dreadside Harridan? Did I play him at ATC?
I don't think so.
Because there was one Dreadside Harridan guy I played. He played 3 units of, I want to say 3 units of Min Dreadside Harridan, Spirit Host, Ragnar, like a bunch of heroes. Yeah, it might have been him. I did play a Nighthaunt player playing triple 3-10 Dreadside Harridan.
With an Incarnate. That sounds pretty cool.
Oh, he wasn't running the Incarnate.
He didn't have an Incarnate then.
Yeah, he didn't run it at ATC, but he's running it now.
Yeah, then I definitely played him. Does he have glasses?
Huh.
Kind of a tallish dude, glasses.
Yeah, huh. I guess you guys might have played him.
Yeah, I played him.
Talked about it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Really good list though. I like that he's going in a little different than Scarlet Doom. And it's interesting to see those Harridans. Even though they're max 3s and 3s, the extra attack on Blade Geist is kind of interesting. It can make up for the lack of the mortals by hitting stuff with wards, so like against flies. I'm sure it can do pretty well. But anyways, thanks Ben for tuning in though. Appreciate it, man.
Let's go. Next list.
Next
Another
list.
Stormcast list. What?
Okay, this one I included because of course we're the Stormkeep. He did only go 4-1.
It has a
and he
loss?
was second place.
What?
But no, I mean, look, I had to include this because it was so cool. He got second place. Noah Aquino is a great Stormcast player, and he's great in that he's always playing what you don't expect out of Stormcast. Like every time I look at his list, he's always doing great. He's top of the chart for now too. With this win, so congrats to you, man. This is Immortal Win Spam. This is something. Paul, you've been wanting to do something like this
Always
for a while.
talk about it, but we never put it together. Because, like, the thing with Mortal Wound Bombs is it does so well into some armies, right? Like Seraphon, Stormcast, these armies that run, like, support heroes and then MSU units, they get obliterated by Mortal Wound Bombs. Nighthaunt really suffers against it. You'd think with their wards they wouldn't be, but no, it actually does hurt them a lot. And it's all about that critical mass of Mortal Wounds. I'm not talking, like, 3d3, none of that. I'm talking like 6d3 mortal wounds. Like you deal an average of 12 mortal wounds to everything in an area, and it's like, oh, I just win the game off the rip. Like you can't stop me. You literally can't stop me from winning the game unless you massively split yourself apart, and in which case I'm just going to pick you off with shooting and still deal crippling damage. Like those matchups are so good. But then you fight like null deploy Nurgle lists, right? Or like Gargants, or or just Nurgle that's on the board with their 5-up wards. Like, there's so much stuff that it's bad against that it makes me not consider it for tournaments, because it's like because you can't control your matchups. You can never. Maybe in a team tournament I could see it, but I think not just the Mortal Wound thing. I think the path to victory here is an interesting thing to look at. But let's break down the list. So it's got 5 Knight Vexillors, which is 5d3 mortal wounds in an area. And then it's got a Lord Relictor who's going to translocate himself where he needs to be in order to cast Everblaze Comet outside of Unbinding range. And then that Everblaze Comet is another D3 mortal wounds. And then you've got 2 units of Shield Annihilators, which are going to land and do potentially D3 mortal wounds each. And then on the charge, they're going to do a bunch of mortal wounds. And then you've got Judicators pinging off, finishing stuff off, and a Stormstrike Chariot, which is also going to do charge mortal wounds along with the Annihilators. So, did I miss anything?
Okay, so... Right? No, yeah. I will point out
Annihilators without an Imperator. What a mad list.
When I was copy-pasting the list, the matchups here aren't correct. You might recognize these matchups as the ones from the Living Cities list. Here's the thing. You want to know what was the first list he faced that he won?
What's that?
What?
Gargants.
Okay.
No! Wait, that was the loss. I'm sorry, I was reading it backwards. The record has it. Okay, never mind. He lost against the Gargants. Okay. Whew. I was like, what? No, his record, shows that he did lose against the Gargants, darn. So the Gargants, again, something we mentioned, not a great matchup
12 mortal wounds doesn't really matter when you have 24 more to go.
He didn't dodge it.
Yeah.
It happens. But the next matchup was against Ossiarch Bone Reapers. Arkin with triple Liege Cavalos.
Arkin's just dead. He's just dead. Like,
Arkin's
off the rip.
Liege Cavalos is what, 7 wounds? Just dead.
Yeah,
yep. Like... 6. They can't deal with 12 more wounds.
Yeah, what do? They blow up.
It's 12 more wounds kills everything.
For the record, this is going to be like...
If they have Harvesters, it'll kill it.
This is going to be about 15 mortal wounds in an area when you count in the Annihilators. It's going to be heavy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolute mad lad. Next list was Hammers of Sigmar, Double Knight Incanter Stardrake list, with 2 Min Fulminators and a Min Stormdrake Guard and Min Tempester. So he went down the lineup. Yep, they're gone. That's 12 wounds. Off the board.
Yep.
After that, he faced Sean Davidson with Khorne, and no Bloodthirsters here. So a lot of small units, 2 Bloodstokers, Bloodsecrators. Oh, it was Scarbrand.
Yeah, he just puts it. Yeah, he'll put it on the near the shrine, kill all the heroes. Khorne's just bad.
Khorne has a lot of blood tithe, but nothing to use it on.
If the heroes are gone, right? And then his last matchup was against Soulblight Gravelords, Manfred Neferata. Actually, similar list to the one we saw earlier. The Black Knights, Death Rattle, Graveguard, Blood Knights, that same exact list from Jeremy earlier.
And how many wounds does Neferata have? 12? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what this list does, man. It's just gonna win some games and lose some others.
Board,
you can almost tell from not even from deployment. You just compare lists. Like, oh, here's your points. Okay, which battle tactics did you want to score before I killed you? Okay.
Yeah, it's an experience.
You know what?
Yeah.
It's time. We're going to make an archetype channel for this list in the Discord. It's time to discuss it. It can go 4-1. That's good enough, right? It doesn't have to be a 5-0 consistently. 4-1's good enough.
Noah is a great player. So your mileage may vary, but it's great. I love this. This is awesome.
Why Celestial Warbringers? Just because you can?
I mean, what else are you gonna take?
What else are you gonna take? It makes the Annihilators a little better, right? Their role.
I maybe go Knights Excelsior then, because they might get +1/+1, and that might matter.
Oh, no, you can't. It's a reroll. Yeah, never mind. You can't even do that with the Annihilators. I don't know.
Wait, what's the battle line?
The battle line's 3 Judicators with Skybolt.
Judicators. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so just more mortal wounds. Okay.
Yeah, more mortal wounds. Yeah. I was gonna say, like, does this get better with? No, you just take Skybolts. Yeah, you don't even take crossbows here.
No, yeah, just like 24-inch mortal wounds. You just with 15 shots, you're bound to get. 30 shots. You're bound to get at least three or 4 or 6. So anything you haven't finished off is now finished off. So, yeah, so wonderful.
I had to include this, even though it was 4-1, because this is gold right here. I love this.
I mean, yeah, Gargants is the hard counter, and it kills basically everything else that isn't like if you are at the 10 to 15 wound level mark, or depending on heroes that are in that mark, and you're having a little castle because you need to get all your pretty little buffs off. Well, congratulations, you lose. Have fun.
And people will learn to play around it. They'll split their stuff up so that they mitigate the damage, and then like let's pretend this list didn't have 5 Night Vexillors and a Comet. What's left? Like nothing. There's nothing left to contest with. So beating this list is about losing half your army, not your whole army, and then your half army beats their half army because they're not really playing a real list. So
these aren't even Grand Hammer Annihilators. Like these are regular Annihilators landing at 9 inches away.
Yeah.
Yeah, my guess is because those are roadblocks, so the Judicators can keep shooting.
No, the thing is, they have this ability where they land, they do mortal wounds, and that fits into the theme. It's a very thematic list.
Yeah.
Even the Chariot, Mortals on the Charge. If you got that one big thing that was living with like 5 wounds, right? You had an 18 wound monster that you didn't get all of it out. The Chariot, right to it.
Funnily enough, I can see how this would hard counter that vampire list because they essentially just depend on their heroes and blood.
Yeah, any list that uses small heroes just dies to mortal wound bombs. It's just gone. Yeah. Like Seraphon, completely hard countered by that.
He sees IDK out.
Yep, it's rough.
Oh yeah, I forgot IDK. Oh yeah.
He's like, I got a Stormcast matchup. Great, I love these.
I love Stormcast. Oh wait a second.
All right.
Oh, my Killer King's dead. My Trollmaster dead.
We're going to do it. We're going to make the channel. It's going to happen. We're going to start talking about Mortal Wound Bombs finally. It's been a year.
All right.
Next up, Fire Slayers. Okay, so before we talk about Fire Slayers, what's missing from our list? And I know this is just a snapshot, but like, there's no Idoneth, there's no Sylvaneth. And I want to talk about those two real quick. Because why aren't they getting the results everybody thinks that they ought to be getting? Because everybody ranks them really highly. Everybody thinks, these are really, really strong armies. They're definitely gatekeepers. You gotta know how to counter them. Why aren't they performing to that level?
Danny, you go first.
Sylvaneth, I can definitely. So I haven't had like too many games about it, but I've seen them being played a lot now. Been talking to a lot of people, and Sylvaneth is just so much more elite than you think they are. Like, and you think that this teleporting army is going to be all over the board, like you can't do anything. But here's the thing, Sylvaneth feels very like it's like an Annihilator list. It doesn't have very much presence.
However,
so like, you can teleport.
Unlike Annihilators, 3 Annihilators do brutal damage. 3 Kurnoths do not do that same level of damage. They have higher rend, but their damage is not there. So you have to reinforce. Like, you have to go reinforce sites. And that's what makes them so elite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're spending 500 points. It's 250 for each 3 pair. Spending 500 points, which makes sense because they're Annihilators that you can reload.
They're a good unit.
Right? So, you've got that going on, but you don't have very much actual shooting. Like, their bows are not great. Their mobility throughout the rest of the army is also not great. Probably in payment, again, for the teleports. Like, the Tree Revenants can teleport, but it's still a 9 inch away. So if you're in the middle of an objective, they can't teleport and take an objective from you. So the objective game on Sylvaneth, if you play around that, if you play, you can shut off if you know that you can shut off their teleports by being within 3 inches of overground. if you play being on objective so they can't, take it with tree revenants, you can really deny them a lot and make them take bad decisions. And if they ever miss
That's what
positioning,
I've
yeah,
it's a very high skill ceiling.
Mhm.
Positioning matters a lot, and most importantly, patience matters a lot. Like Daniel just mentioned, how it feels similar to Annihilator list. The Annihilator Grande list, like, I mean, this is not like a humble brag or anything, but it's like it requires really, really tight play, and you have to be patient and know when you can like go out and. Because if you're trying to play like a standard game of Warhammer where I'm gonna move forward, hit stuff, and win the game, you're probably gonna lose. You need to know when to land stuff, when not to land, what to hit, what not to hit, what to target with your shooting, your spells, etc. Positioning is very important, and I feel like Sylvaneth falls in that category, where you're so elite, you have to make these decisions where you're like, okay, maybe the first 2 turns I don't go that hard on objectives. Maybe I only score 1 or 2 objectives, and once my opponent's army is whittled down enough, I'll start scoring.
And you'd think that
some people,
their healing and their revives would play into that style, but it doesn't, because they're so elite, right? Like that's the biggest weakness of Sylvaneth, is because their 3 sites aren't enough to kill the things you need them to kill. You have to go 6, and then it's an overcommitment of resources. It's like, man, it feels good to charge 6 Grand Hammers, but 3 do the job, and then you're not overcommitting, right? And Sylvaneth overcommit. Everything Sylvaneth do is overcommitment, it feels like. And they're leaning heavy on their spell portal tree thing that's got going on. And if the rumors of that getting nerfed are true, I don't know what's left for that faction, honestly. Yeah. That's so huge for them right now.
The other thing is it's weird because Sylvaneth are both an overcommit, and then they almost have to undercommit because you have to pull those sides back. So it's basically shooting. That's why I've been telling people, treat Sylvaneth like shooting. They can't play the objective game as well, because if they leave those sides caught out, now you get rid of it. That's 500 points that they were.
They're a shooting army that has to shoot your screens. What a weird mix.
and they can be screened out. That's the other thing. It's a shooting army that can get screened out. So it's pinpoint shooting that can be screened out. And yes, they can decide to stay and take an objective, but it's important to, like Mergonk said, have patience to get to that point.
Do you think it's just a player issue then? People haven't acclimated to that style, and that's causing them.
I think so, because if you look at Season of War players like Jordan, I think they can do a lot with Sylvaneth. Like players like Jordan are doing well with Idoneth, and in my opinion, Idoneth is not as good as.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think Idoneth also takes a lot of.
Let's talk about Idoneth. Why aren't they so far, just with this little snapshot that we've seen, and small niche game and a niche hobby, why aren't they putting up the results? Because Idoneth. Everybody thought the book was overpowered. How come their results are not doing so well in Season 1?
I'll give you 2 reasons. I'll start off with why people think they're considered overpowered, because they hard countered what was going on, which is Ironjawz and Stormcast. So, and every arm, and they basically hard counter Stormcast. The 6 Raptor build is dead. Like, you have to be very careful committing. The reason they're not that good, because A, they only have -1 Ren and hardly any mortal wounds in that army, unless you really, really lean into that playstyle. And B, Idoneth had this problem, and they've had this problem since even the 2nd edition book, which is very good, came out. Whenever Magic becomes really, really good, Idoneth becomes. Idoneth are a bad anti-magic army. They have a really good anti-magic tool in the form of the Eidolon of the Sea. But anytime Magic becomes good in any sense, they just fail. And Sylvaneth is like the hard counter to Idoneth, because everything Idoneth wants to be doing, someone just says, I don't care. You have -1 Rend, I am going to sit in my woods in cover, stacked on a 2-up save. Have fun trying to get through that, even with high time. You're near my woods?
Go ahead.
Here, take 3d3 more.
Yeah. I didn't seem like the army that would, if the game was more standard, like regular movement, regular charge lanes and flanking attacks, if the game was more standardized, Idoneth would be insane. But because the game is so weird, like Age of Sigmar is a weird game, man. You've got Purple Sun's instant killing stuff, everything teleports, not everything. I was
hero phase moves, out of phase movement.
Yeah, there's lots of weird stuff going on. And Idoneth don't play the weird well. They have anti-normal stuff, not anti-weird stuff.
Yes, they do. I've always seen Idoneth as the reverse of Stormcast. They have not great war scrolls with amazing tech. And the thing is, to use that tech, it's always conditional. You're always relying on things to go as planned, as expected, that normal game, right? And so when things stop being normal, it's like, well, what do? We don't have like the best saves. We don't have the best base damage. You know, like their biggest can opener is like the Fight King, and like if he goes into a set of dragons, he gets unleashed health. He's 7 wounds.
Yeah.
Like you know, like there's a lot of like little things that they don't hit the thresholds, like 4 damage and certain things. They don't hit the thresholds for wound counts. They have that anti-shooting tech. Well, sometimes I just go in and just start shooting because if your stuff is gone, you can't really hit me back. You have to decide whether you're waiting for High Tide turn 3 or if you take a turn 2, you can be shot. So there's a lot of little things that they're trading to get their tech.
Mm-hmm.
I've been wondering.
I think Jordan did really well with like a Morphan build. Where he just like spams Reavers, and I think that is a really good build because Reavers are wicked good.
Mm-hmm.
I think Reavers are one of the better shooting units out. But even in that build, when you start facing a Magic Dom meta, like when you have Seraphon, like Idoneth has a time-honored tradition of losing for them. But they just like can't do anything against all that like magic.
Searing White Light? What?
Yeah, it's like or Techless. Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes like Techless will just go like I'm just gonna mortal wound a whole bunch of your stuff. I'll kill your heroes, and it's like okay, GG,
So
have fun.
It's not the Purple Sun that's holding those 2 armies back, right? Like maybe Sylvaneth. It might help cracking Kurnoth armor, but definitely it's not. It's Purple Sun's not the reason Idoneth isn't showing yet.
No, not at all.
So it's just when it comes to the battle plans, there's just armies that are too like Gargants is a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you only have -1 rend across most of the units in your army, it can't hurt them.
Given these problems, like it's not like the Idoneth don't have tools to solve these problems. Like they have Eidolons that can increase their melee rend, and they can go higher damage by going bounty hunters with eels, which are super fast, right? So is there a pivot there for them? Do you think that they start leaning into Eidolon and eels instead of just the typical turtles, and thralls, and reavers?
I've been seeing so much.
I think the turtle is no longer good. I think the turtle is too expensive now. I think the build for Idoneth goes in 2 directions. Either you go like full send Morphan, which is you lean into your Namarti really heavily, or you go into the other route, which is Iron Red. You go Achillean King, Eidolon, 6 eels, shield eels, maybe like a Kronspine Incarnate.
I was going to say Kronspine seems really important for Idoneth.
Yeah,
and it's only $60.
Yeah, it's basically.
Yeah. Gosh,
and I think that's basically. Yep, okay. That's basically what it comes.
Okay, all right. That's a good aside. Let's get back to the matter at hand. Let's talk about the Fire Slayers list that went 5-0.
Yeah, this is a 5-0 list, and I was talking about earlier that we talked about a relic or artifact spam list. This is it going 5-0, and all right, where was it? I'm pretty sure he actually already appeared. The same player. Dustin Chesmer was the same player. I didn't realize until after I was writing out all of this. He was the Lumineth Realm Lord sidetrack player from earlier.
Small world.
Yeah, and he, I can tell, like he's got to be a great player. A good he understands his army. He likes to research his army. I can just kind of feel that about him here. Because this list, I cannot even begin to think of how I would pilot this list. He's got one of every kind of foot hero, with pretty much every artifact in the book. It would take me so long to even go through all of these.
I honestly don't know. I don't know, and congrats to him. My God.
All right. Demon Slayer is a damage artifact. Obsidian Icon is the 4+ spell ignore, I think, or maybe I'm thinking of second edition.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it's still spell ignore.
Yep, you're right.
Yes,
Axe of Grimnir, is that the throwing axe? No, that's the DPS artifact.
No, that's the DPS. Yeah.
Right. Draught of Magmalt Ale doubles your attacks for the turn. On a Flamekeeper though, like that's weird, man. Got nothing else. Couldn't give him an arcane tome. He was flaming. Oh, that's weird. Does Flamekeeper
Volatile Brazier, Prayer of
I don't know.
Fine.
The Brazier, I believe, is the one that doubles the range of your invocations. I thought that Firewall Brazier was going to be like an incredible combo, and I think it's still really good.
Here.
With the Infernoth, that's some nice mortal wounds, but like, I don't know if that's enough to really matter. This list is it's peculiar, that's for dang sure. I don't know how I would pilot this.
Yeah, I can't even come close.
It's just so slow. And short ranged.
Full send. You run forward and you're like, all right, what are you gonna kill?
Does the Rune Smiter pop out with Hearthguard and try to kill something? does he bring out the sling shields on an objective and try to hold it? Like, man, that's. Nope, I'm not seeing
It's
it.
pretty nuts. It's a good list.
I would love to know how this list plays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so okay. Looking at the matchups, Slaanesh, Lurid Haze, probably melee, keeper, and Sigvold base. So it's fine.
Sinessa,
Zinch is probably the hardest matchup.
Not really.
Yeah.
4-up spell ignore.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. With Null City and Icon,
Oh,
4-up being like the only source of. So it's like in this case, it's the hardest match. Soulblight Gravelords, again, it's kind of magic heavy, but most of the damage does come from melee, which Fire Slayers succeed at. Excel
Fight
at.
first, yeah.
Good. Fight first, yep. Flesh Eater Courts, pure melee, not gonna win.
Yeah, you know what? This list didn't play against any heavy shooting. It just went against melee and magic, which seems to be leaning into its strengths. Like good matchups, which is part of success at a tournament is getting the right matchups. So there's definitely an element of luck, and I don't want to discount a good player just because they got good matchups, right? Like you still took advantage of it, right? It's like double turns win you the game, but only if you're in the position to take advantage of it. So there's a skill involved in taking advantage of that randomness.
Absolutely.
Yep. And again,
100%.
Ogre Maw Tribes with Storm Horns. Yeah, it's melee armies all the way, which this army will excel in going into. And then when you start feeding the Flamekeeper with some deaths, it's like okay.
Can you imagine how awful it must feel to be that Flesh Eater Courts player and fail the roar that would win you the game?
Oh gosh.
Because the roar prevents the fight first on the berserkers, and if they fight first, you're dead. They just kill you instantly, and you don't fight on death. So you fail that 3+ roar. Oh boy, that's awful. I don't know if that's what happened. I'm just thinking like that's how you lose.
What are we doing against this Morgonk with the Nylana, right? Like we just have a bunch of little heroes to kill, right?
I say I don't do anything turn one. Just kill as many of the heroes in the first couple of turns as possible. Charge in Stormdrake Guard, get a roar, charge some Annihilators, kill a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
That's how
even the Vanquishers actually hit real good here.
Now what you do
is Vanquishers against Volkite Berserkers.
You bring 5 Night Vexillors and you drop a bunch of Mortal Wolves.
Alright, yep.
Yeah. Blow them out of the water. Boom.
It's that time of night. Oh god.
Kudos, Dustin. It's a cool list, man. I'm glad Fire Slayers are putting up results that aren't just Magmadroth spam. I knew the book was really, really good when I saw it, and there's a lot of stuff in there that people have not experimented with. Magmadroths are fine, but they're not the best thing in that book. I hope people keep experimenting.
A little one-dimensional.
All right, let's close out tonight's stream by taking a look at our previous Realm Report. We did like a Season 1 first impressions kind of thing, and this is where we placed all the factions in like a pseudo tier list. We were thinking maybe these like pretty much A tier and S tier. We thought, they're all pretty much A tier, but maybe Nighthaunt, Nurgle, and Stormcast are a little bit better. And then we went through the factions one at a time and ranked them. It'd be interesting to track how this evolves. For me, this is the most interesting part of this series that we're going to be doing, because I just want to see how this all changes. So let's just go through these and think about like how we think each one's doing so far. Nighthaunt, we thought maybe they were S before. Do we still think they're S? I think so.
I don't know, because I'm just not seeing them winning so much. Like, for them to be S tier, I feel like they need to be winning a lot more.
Does S tier mean dominating the meta, or does S tier mean like a gatekeeper? Like, what are we defining here as an S tier?
I think S tier is dominating, to be honest, because gatekeeper. I mean, you can be a B tier army and be a gatekeeper, in my opinion.
Okay, that's a fair.
I think Sons of Behemat is a gatekeeper army, and I think they're actually a B tier right now.
They're better than we thought for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm thinking Nighthaunt. If they're not dominating, and it seems like maybe, and there's been time for people to put together the pieces, right? People have experimented with a lot of different things. There's still some inefficiencies out there. People running like double Cruciators or going heavy on like bringing in Reignor and Kurnos. Like you need just a ton of bodies, guys. Seriously, like minimum heroes, tons of bodies. You're gonna do fine.
Cut the fat.
Okay. We're gonna put Nighthaunt in A tier then. Does that sound about right, Morgonk?
A tier definitely.
So.
Because I've seen that list that has like all the melee hitters and 9 Spirit Hosts or 6 Spirit Hosts or whatever. It's pretty good.
Okay. It's pretty so let's say S tier is like consistently 5-0. A tier is like consistently 4-1, sometimes 5-0, something like that. Does that sound about right?
Fair. Yeah, that's
okay. And Ben's saying in the chat that S tier units he thinks would be broken and need to be nerfed. I don't think anything's broken right now. I'll be honest. I think that certain things are broken, but not armies. For example, Kronspine. I think Kronspine
Kronspine's
is
an
kind
S
of
tier.
broken
Okay,
right now.
we're gonna have a new
Yeah.
tier, the Kronspine tier.
Kronspine tier. If your army has Kronspine, place army here.
Oh, how many armies is Kronspine propping up right now? That's crazy to think about.
All of them. All of them.
Quite a
Yeah.
lot of them. It's actually breaking. I mean, and the thing is, like, it's actually like, while it's good that I think those armies are having a chance with it, I think it's overall for game. I don't think.
Even like super tanky armies like Stormcast and Nurgle are taking the Incarnate. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Right?
We have
Silly.
good monsters too. We have Stormdrake cards.
And yeah, that's the problem. It's like a gatekeeper, but for like monsters. If you're a monster hero army and that likes to run hero monsters above 400 points that have a bit of punch to them, you will lose to the Kronspine. So why would you take anything but?
It's also gatekeeping most endless spells out of the game, because if you bring like a weaker endless spell that it can eat, the game's over. If it ever eats an endless spell, the game's over. It's rough.
If you're using cogs right now, the Kronspine can run and charge your models because of the cogs. Yep. As long as he ends that run within 12 inches of the cogs, he is immediately eligible to charge. It's in his war scroll.
Yep.
So he can get run and charge without being wild.
That's
because of your cogs being there, and it's so.
It's pretty silly.
So it makes you not want to take that stuff.
Okay, so Nighthaunt A, Nurgle. Is Nurgle the overperforming S tier army we were worried it was going to be with all this Nurgle spam or the fly spam stuff? I'm not seeing it dominate.
It still is.
It's good, but it's not dominating.
I think people aren't playing it because it's boring, but
yes,
Nurgle is still a very, very good army. Yeah.
Good friends with Brandon Voss. He doesn't really want to play the army anymore because he's like, this is as good as it gets.
Would we say that is an S tier army then?
I honestly think it is. It's so much easier to go 5-0 with that army than other lists. You have so much more. It's not even tools at that point. It's just raw wounds and just enough damage to where it can make damage checks that it needs to.
Mm-hmm. So it's consistently getting 5 wins.
I think it's consistently able to get 5 wins. I don't think it's consistently getting it just because people aren't playing it.
More often than the A tier armies, the Nurgle armies are getting 5-0.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say so. And specifically flies. But Nurgle, yeah. I mean, that's
part of the faction, right? You can't just rank specific things. Stormcast, I don't think they're S. I think they're A. I think there's enough going on that I don't think we compete with the Nurgle for that title. I think we're A. We're good. Stormcast is looking very good, despite the poor win rate that we see, which is definitely getting dragged down by a lot of newcomers. Stormcast feel very good in this season, especially with every new book coming out. Stormcast look and feel better and better. Like our faction allegiance is that we're the same army we were in 2nd edition, while everybody else just keep you guys ever see that GIF of Mario Party where it's that game where they're like all the characters are on balls on a cliff and Luigi stands perfectly still and everybody else just falls off? That's the Stormcast player. Everybody else is just getting worse and we stay exactly the same, and that's making us look good by comparison. So
I'd say we're the opposite. I mentioned earlier the Sons of Behemat win rate is high, but their winning tournaments or 4-0 rate is lower. We're the opposite. We have a lower win rate and we have for our win rate a very high 4-0, getting to the 4-0 mark rate. Right? So counting, people that go 4-1 and 5-0, but people who are undefeated for those 4 rounds, Stormcast have a higher rate of that than a lot of other armies that have much higher win rates.
So that's an interesting data point. What can we extrapolate from that? Could it be something like Gargants win the matchups they win, but then they get hard checked before they win 5 in a row, whereas Stormcast tend to build take-all-comer lists and tend to succeed more often despite the lower win rate, because there's no easy matchups, but there's also no super hard matchups. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. That, and it's a little bit of the newcomer army. I mean, it's in there. So a little bit of that and a little bit of, the way you build our Stormcast list, I think that's kind of what's giving us those stats. And again, stats, it's hard to rely on them. Niche game, low numbers, not much statistical relevance, but they, you can see something in the numbers.
It's a data point, something to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, Daughters of Cain, are they S tier? They seem to be doing better than everyone suspected. Well, us.
I think they're still A.
Still
definitely
A?
counterable.
Okay.
Yep.
Even though Marathi is still ridiculous and Marathi Gotrek is still a thing and Marathi Bow Snakes is still a thing, still think A?
Yeah, because their list is more expensive. You see that list earlier; it's a lot leaner than a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the way the game is played now,
they're still depending on Marathi. We haven't really seen Ganet lists really pop up, the ones we've been talking about. Now, I don't know if that's a symptom of them just being too expensive and too hard to paint, or
I think they're harder to
are
execute.
they really not that
too.
good? Yeah, it can be harder to execute. So, but I want to be the first to see. I want to run some Witch Elves and Kronspine and see where I can.
Yeah.
Well, just bring Kronspine. It's not Marathi. It's.
I mean, I have to. I mean, I have to. As long as like other people are gonna run Kronspine, I can't run pure Witch. So I have to.
Okay. Seraphon, A or S?
I think they're at the top of A.
Top of A.
I think
So
they're
like
still
the next,
close to S.
like
I think they used to be
just
S.
shy of being Nurgle level of power.
I think so. I don't know.
What do you think?
Nurgle?
No, Seraphon.
Seraphon.
Seraphon. Oh, S.
S?
You think S?
I think S.
I think they took just enough of a power hit where they're not quite dominating. I don't know.
They've got 3 sub-factions that are all really good. Like, I can see the argument for making them S, like bottom S, top of A type of situation.
Yeah.
More towards S, though, I think, just based on the performance. Because
definitely top of A, at least.
Okay.
At least.
Okay, that sounds good. Sylvaneth, we predicted them being A tier. Based on the results we're seeing, I don't think they would qualify for A tier.
I don't
maybe bottom of A, top of B kind of
bottom
situation.
Bottom of A, yeah, I'd agree.
Idoneth, I think, are knocked right out of A tier. Idoneth are going down to B. I don't think
Idoneth are definitely B. They're not C, but they're definitely B.
That sounds right. Fire Slayers, I think, maintain their A spot. They seem good.
I think they're, bottom of A maybe, but
we can't have every faction be the bottom.
Right, yeah.
Let's say lower A.
That's fair.
Lower A.
I think Ironjawz is like the definition of an A tier army.
Low B, if anything. Ironjawz
Really?
is so straightforward. I think they're just struggling in this meta. I don't see how they're gonna get around the bounty hunters thing. I don't see them playing expert conquerors, and their damage is so one-dimensional that I don't think bounty hunters gives them much benefit. And their battle regiment thing is just as easy to counter as was before. So like, circling the drain on B is where I would put Ironjawz. They're pretty close to going down a tier from there.
What do you think, Magog?
They're like the premier melee army. The fast, hit you, melee, win or lose, super quick games.
It's like how I feel about Ossiarch Bone Reapers, right? It's like there are matchups when they're good, well, they will absolutely crush any melee army in the game, and it'll feel like you can't do anything against them. And when they have bad matchups, they can't do anything. And that's how I feel about it.
I don't think they're consistently 4-1. 3-2 sounds about right.
I guess that's
3-2. Yeah, I think B is a good spot for me.
Okay. All right.
B means you can easily reach out to the A and S depending on the mission and good matchups, but you can also fall
flex down to the CD.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, like Benjamin's saying, the matchups they win hard. If they don't win hard, they have a bad time. That's it right there, right? Like
that's fair.
And that's
that's what basically what I was saying. It's like Ossiarchs. It's like Ossiarchs. It's the same I feel about Ossiarch Bone Reapers. When they have a good matchup, they will crush it, and when they have a bad matchup, they'll flat out.
Bone Splitters. I haven't seen enough to not call them C. Right? Like they're doing okay.
I think we skipped over.
Oh, B. Wow, sorry. Let's go back to B tier. Cities of Sigmar still feels like B. I'm glad Living City is relevant. Tempest Eye is not performing to the level we thought it would yet. Hallowheart still has just not quite gotten there, even though Krondus and Endless Spells are good now. But City still feels like a B. It's like it's not bad. It's not good. Not great. I mean, it's good. It's not great. Soulblight feels B or A, something like that. They're maybe a little bit better than B.
Feels higher B, but
it's B plus A minus.
Yeah.
Depending on how you want.
I think it's still B though, because for the most part.
I don't think it's B. I think it can consistently go 4-1. I think it's a player skill issue. Not
a little bit,
and
it's a lot of Soulblight players went to Nighthaunt. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Why are you playing Soulblight?
Pretty consistent. It is going 4-1 consistent.
If it's consistently 4-1, then we would call that A tier, right?
Sure.
Yeah, Soulblight is an A tier army. They just have they have all the tools. They have resurrection. They have good magic. They have good combat. It's just come down to
people
matchup
like
and player
playing
skill.
Nighthaunt.
I think we were worried that the veteran damage from bounty hunters would just destroy them, and it
Nah.
hasn't done that. It affects them for
well,
sure.
they've pivoted, right?
Yeah.
They've pivoted because
No more
they
60
can no longer
zombies.
rely on zombies. Yeah,
Yeah.
they have to go Blood Knights, they have to go Black Knights, they have to lean heavier into their hero magic
Mhm.
than previously, which is why you're also not seeing the direwolf, because that was another thing that was popular.
Yeah,
You just
dire
spam
wolves
the
are
board
just
with like 10, 20 direwolves.
not good anymore. Dire
Not
wolves are
good
out.
into bounty hunter. Yep.
Yeah. They're just even like weaker bounty hunter units like prosecutors can just chunk away at direwolves over a couple turns, which is like
Oh, you bring a unit of your reinforced direwolves, my vanquishers will eat them alive.
it's rough. Beasts of Chaos, I think A. I think last time I
Okay.
was
S. No, F.
Dragon Ogres are
Really?
just too efficient.
It's just it's not that like the army as a whole is S. It's just that they have a build that's just doing everything in every design phase of the game. It's like they're a horde army that has the horde density of wounds that you would expect, except they don't take the bounty hunter damage like a Soulblight Gravelord's army would, because they have dragon ogres. They hit like an elite army because the Hearthstone is giving them that extra rend they need in order to be able to do that. And on top of that, they have better resurrection and summoning than most death armies have. Most death and chaos armies.
Not seeing them though.
They're not putting up the results.
You're-
So I
You're not
don't
seeing
wanna
them
call
because
it
nobody
S.
owns them. Who do you know owns
And
21
that's-
dragon?
That's fair.
That's-
They have like the thing is, as they get more popular, people would also play around them more, right? Like you're definitely running the Nihilana Grande list as an elite anti, like it's a scalpel type list, and it can't deal with
Right.
with the hordes of useless things that Beast of Chaos throws at you. So it's like you're playing paper and thinking that scissors is too strong, right? So it's like this is the thing that's meant.
But
to
my
be.
question is,
Possible.
but here's the thing. Like I watched something similar to that list play at ATC. I'm not sure what beats. You would think Ironjawz would do it because they have Smash and Bash. You would think Nighthaunt would do it because they have Terrify. They have a bunch of good melee. They have Wave of Terror, so they can really put the hurt on. It's way too many wounds. 250 points for 36 wounds is absurd.
When
You
think
cannot
it's
be bringing 4
32.
Gargants worth of wounds to a
Oh.
table on a 4-up save
I'm
before
not-
everything else.
I'm not disagreeing that it's overpowered. And once we start seeing results,
Yeah.
I would probably agree with you that it's going to go S tier as well. But we just don't see the results yet. And part of it could be nobody's playing it, right? 'Cause
Yeah. I would
frankly,
say
Yeah,
it does go A,
nobody's
though.
playing it. A definitely. I would my say is low S, high A.
I think every A tier
Like-
faction has the possibility of going into S tier with a meta shift, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, woo.
And
thanks,
they
Christian.
just don't have a lot that deals with them. That's my
Yeah.
like. If you're a Magic Dom army, you basically lose because you can't
What?
do enough damage.
No. Okay, here's what counters Beast of Chaos. Croak. Just
Oh yeah, because if
AoE
you nuke
melt.
their heroes, yeah, you have a chance.
AoE melt. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely counters for it. That's why I think it's A tier. I think it's really good. It's too efficient, too cheap. It's hitting that design philosophy that we all didn't want to happen, where something gets over buffed in all the wrong ways by points and by just a dumb flat boost rule, which is what happened.
Yeah. You just make it so cheap that you bring a million of it,
No.
and then all of a sudden it's good.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I think Vince Venturella talked about this on Warhammer Weekly. He said, "What if Liberators were 40 points? Would that make the Stormcast book good?" And the answer is yes. It probably would have. Like if we had our last edition tome, you just if you bring 200 Liberators to a board and then start bringing all your Evocators and your Raptors, well, suddenly, guess what? The Stormcast book is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not good. The way that beasts are good is not a good thing.
Yes.
That could just be changed immediately. So I'm not going to put them in S. I see your reasoning for wanting to put them in S. I think we'll see more results, and then they might get there.
I think conservatively they're definitely an A.
So
but they are on the watch list from GW.
We ended up putting them in B, and I said that they were C tier because I wasn't seeing this Dragon Ogre spam list, which is really what we're talking about here. We're not talking about Beasts of Chaos. We're talking Dragon Ogre spam, right? Because what I was seeing from Beasts of Chaos was like a mix of Gores and Ungores and Raiders and a few Dragon Ogres and a few Bulgors, and it was kind of just waves and waves of this crashing horde kind of screeching at you and killing what they can as they die and then resummoning more. And that's what I was seeing in Beasts of Chaos. I wasn't seeing Dragon Ogre spam, and that's why I ranked it as low as I did, and then I think we split the difference and called it B. With Dragon Ogre spam, that's like, it's unfortunate that that's a real thing. We have to live in that reality. So yeah, I'm thinking A tier is about right. Skaven. What do you guys think of Skaven?
Ooh, this one's tough because I think Skaven are better than what people are playing it as right now.
Thankful's brutal.
Yeah.
Skaven, I think, really suffer from the anti-GV stuff going on right now. I think most of their good builds become unlocked if we move away from that.
For sure.
But what's happened so far is their main build, which used to be Thankful and Stormfiend, still Thankful and Stormfiend.
Yeah. And there's too many things that
wound
just
density.
do it better.
Yes. And they while they can lean into their magic, they're ultimately still a shooting heavy army that relies on its Vermin Lords to do some melee tricks, Thankful and Stormfiends to do shooting, and then Clan Rats is just Chef. Mm-hmm. I think they will really come into their own once Bounty Hunters.
Yeah. So probably still B for now.
High B definitely.
They're going like 3-2-4-1. It's just that you don't see them crack that 5-0 sometimes, which would put them in A tier, right?
I don't know if they've had one. I think they've had one.
It's not
pretty
common.
Sure it's just one.
It happens, but it's not common. So I'm thinking B tier still seems about right. They're not even at that point yet where it's like, oh, how do I beat Skaven with this list? Like, I don't consider them when I build my list. There's nothing they do that I'm really worried about. But that's obviously biased as a Stormcast player, right?
And thank you so much, Christian, for becoming a Redeemer, man. And I see that you're a huge fan, man. Thank you so much for your support, and hope to interact with you in the Discord soon.
Yeah, cheers, bud. Jump in there. We'll be hanging out and chatting. Cruel Boys next. Grinning Blades is decent, right? Not like...
Grinning Blades is very good. I think the problem is Cruel Boys can't take a hit.
Yeah.
Cruel Boys can't take a hit.
Yeah, especially now with Bounty Hunters. They just really...
Yeah, it's like now they can take a hit from shooting, specifically shooting, but they will melee. Anything you want to charge into melee with them will still melt.
And they don't...
Because they're all 5-up saves.
And they still don't have good melee to trade up. Mm-hmm. Like they can't like throw away screens and then hit you back with a melee hammer. They don't have anything like that. So it's just...
They're really good at hitting Storm. Like, it's like the Mortal Wound thing, whatever they have, the poison crap, whatever, that was designed to kill Stormcast, because Stormcast damage potential drops rapidly as you start taking more wounds and you start losing models. But everything else they go up against, it's just a horrible time. Like 20, what's the name? Gut Rippers against like 20 Graveguard.
Yeah.
It's not the Gut Rippers that are winning that engagement, let me tell you that.
So I'm thinking we drop Cruel Boys down a tier. I was thinking that the Grinning Blades would prop them up a bit. But it turns out that shooting hate is just not important enough, because still most of the game is about melee. We talk about shooting a lot, obviously, as Stormcast, but it's just not that important. We're going to have to add Big Wah to this list, right? So
yeah,
I think Big Wah is probably B tier. Like
I think it's B.
Big Wah is B tier, yeah.
The mix of Ironjawz and Cruel Boys without the garbage that comes with just going that strict allegiance, I think that's fine. I think that's B tier.
And a Wargog.
Yeah.
For the memes, yeah.
And then I guess that leaves Bone Splitters. I think Bone Splitters are still C. They're not impressing me.
I think Bone Splitters are.
Do you think?
So okay. So I did see the only, the best Bone Splitter list I've seen really takes advantage of a boar spam, coupled with Stabbas, coupled with Kragnos.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's holding up that faction. Kragnos and like that boar boy, because you just put a 3d6 charge on everything. You put big Stabbas, you do a bunch of pre-game moves, and wow, suddenly your army is good because you can get into the opponent's face turn 1 and stay there.
Good.
That list is B tier.
Good. I mean, good.
Still,
but it makes sense to call it C, because if you can kill everything else,
it can't.
There are armies where
it just hits screens and stops. Like it's not. It's just Ironjawz, but with extra steps.
Yeah, basically.
And Ironjawz isn't like I'm convinced Ironjawz is C. We're gonna call it B still, but yeah. They just do it better than most of their armies.
Yeah.
Bone Reapers. You don't see a lot of them.
C. No, hard C. I agree.
It's
at that place
player.
where
I know.
Yeah. So if you face, it's like if you face a good matchup, you will absolutely just suddenly feel like an A tier army, and you face a bad matchup, and you'll feel like an F. Like you face Stormcast, you face Seraphon, you face Nighthaunt, you face Nurgle, you feel bad. Even Sylvaneth. If you face, things like Soulblight Overlords, Beast of Chaos, actually, yeah, you can handle Beast of Chaos. Cruel Boys, yeah, sure, why not? You can handle them a little bit. It's just too many bad matchups. When I think of Ossiarch Bone Reapers, I think of Fire Slayers, but worse. If that makes sense. It's like they're doing the exact same thing Fire Slayers are doing, which is grinding up the board with these like tough dudes with a bit of resurrection and magic built in instead of prayers on the Fire Slayer side, but ultimately they have the same weakness.
Do you think they ever pivot into the cavalry and the stalkers, or is it just Mortek all the way down?
It definitely has to move away from Mortek because Bounty Hunters absolutely kills Mortek now, especially now that Roar is back in a big day. Yeah, and Roar can shut down Shield Wall, which is the Mortek's biggest defensive rule. Stalkers are good, but in my opinion, like what's been happening is you still have to take your normal battle line. You can't make Stalkers battle line because then they become vulnerable to +1 damage.
Oh yeah, that's right. They're only 4 wounds, right?
Yeah, they're not 5 wounds. And so that's a big problem. The problem is Asiak rely on a lot of resurrection, either from Archon or the Bone Shaper. Unfortunately, that resurrection does not hit Stalker. It's not like you can revive 1 Stalker model or 3 Mortek Guard, which I'm sure they'll do that in the next book, but you just can't do that.
Maybe you and I got to talk more after this about what you would do if you just go away from the resurrection stuff, lean in on the good casting that can't be unbound, and the stalkers and cavalry, and then maybe a couple more Mortex just for GP purposes. We can talk about that afterwards.
Yes, yeah, maybe some expert conqueror more. Yeah, I could.
All right, we'll keep them in C. I thought they might have been better than C, but they're not putting up results, and nobody's really playing them, so it's hard to tell. Ogre Maw tribes feel like C.
They still stay C.
I
think they can put up 4-1s, but just not consistently enough to be up there.
You're gonna.
Their biggest tool still happens to be Kragnos. That's the problem.
Kragnos is definitely propping them up. Like if they didn't have the 3d6 charges, they'd be D.
Yeah, they would be.
But even against Kragnos, the meta's shifted to the point where Kragnos isn't killing the enemy army, and he gets killed by hordes of everything. Right, like 2+ save sounds really good, but Scarlet Doom just nukes him, man. He's gone.
Buckets of dice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You roll enough dice, he's gone. So Kragnos was good in an elite damage meta. We're not in an elite damage meta. So ogres are C. Let's call them C. I don't want to bump them down. Kharadron, I think,
though,
bump up at least 1 tier. At least.
Yeah. I think the changes to the Admiral and the the addition of the Kronspine. Purple Sun, Kronspine, and Admiral change makes some solid beat. Like 3-2 is a very expected result. I think
we've seen 5-0s and I think both Realm reports now. They're going 4-1s. I could make an argument for A tier for Kharadron right now.
I was about to say I think they can be A.
High B, low A, yeah. High B, mid A, yeah.
Would we rather put them in A or B?
They're good.
Which one are they closer to, you think?
I think they're closer to B for
A,
most people, honestly.
It's like I said, high. The reason I say high B is because they're still extremely vulnerable to getting. Like there are times where because most of their shooting is 18 inches. If they're facing down a fast army, they can get double turned.
Yeah.
Can they kill Nurgle consistently?
No.
Can they kill Gargants consistently?
They can.
Gargants, yes.
Sun a little
if they
better.
take the Kronspine, Purple Sun and Kronspine.
Yep. You need both. You need to have both.
What
Again,
about
K tier.
What about Nighthaunt? How are they? I think Nighthaunt is a struggle for them, right? Because Ren doesn't mean anything.
But they have pretty good volume of attacks. I haven't.
They have
seen
volume
that
actually.
Yeah.
I haven't.
And the
it would be nice to see that matchup.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: Nighthaunt also has Purple Sun, and when they kill your boats on a 1,
when they kill your boats on a 1, gosh.
Yeah,
it's rough.
That would be. Yeah, that's so. It's like that. That's why I say B, high B. They can get A tier and S tier results, but I think they're solid B, maybe A.
Okay, like a B plus.
Karn is moving to B tier.
Yeah, talk about why, because it's stupid.
Oh my
So they went from an army that basically hit like a paper bag, probably the worst summoning out of all the Chaos faction, to essentially what you would call better summoning, Slaanesh levels of, not initial Slaanesh, but like 3.0 Slaanesh levels of summoning, and great amount of resiliency with their summoning and demon unit. Especially now that Bloodletters are Galatian veterans, them being able to fight in 2 ranks elevates them a lot, because you're talking about now 40 attacks on a 220 point unit with a Blood Secretary doing mortal wounds on 6 in addition, with -1 rank. Bloodthirsters have been good for their points cost. I think the 6-inch pile-in rules and the new Blood Tithe and anti-spell ignore rules, I think really lifts them. So when played by a good player, they can be solid B. They're not C tier where they're just weak against melee. Like the Khorne player that I saw took down a Kharadron Overlord player with the Sun with a double. So it is very powerful.
Mhm.
The changes to the Blood Tithe are absolutely massive because beyond the summoning, it gives them tools that they can use to get around certain situations. Like they suck at absorbing Unleash Hell. Well, guess what? They have a 2 Blood Tithe, spend 2 Blood Tithe. I can either normal make food. It's basically Draconic Onslaught. I can either charge or make a normal. Yeah, Hero Phase move or charge. Yeah, they have fight twice. They have fight first. They have 6-inch pilot.
It's really weird that Khorne is good in this way. That this is the army of the murder god, and the way his army fights is that it's super techy.
Tricks.
It's all about combat tricks. It's all about stacking up a whole bunch of different weird, unintuitive mechanics on a unit, dying to win.
Fight on deaths.
It's the way Khorne is good makes no sense, and it's it's not just because they slapped on a good rule change on top of a bad book, and that kind of props it up. That's the way the book was written. That's the way the Khorne has been written since first edition. I hope when they get a new book, they just obliterate all of this nonsense and they make Khorne like a.
If you want to feel like you're playing Khorne, you should play Ironjawz.
Yep.
If you feel like Khorne is about the straightforward combat and martial glory, you should play Ironjawz. If you want to play, 3D brain, I'm doing quantum physics to figure out how my combat's going to go and then kill my opponent, then you play Khorne.
Khorne should be the army that does blood sacrifices, kind of like Daughters of Cain, right? That kind of the vibe. They should fight on death. They should have all this stuff associated, like glass cannon melee army. A couple of their armored guys can have some decent defenses, but they should be all about like using death as a resource. Like spilling blood should be a resource for them. Dying should be a resource, and they kind of have that with the Blood Tithe, but it's not quite there because all the way they fight doesn't fit that. Right? They have to prop all these abilities and effects onto these trash units. So, anyway,
I would actually, I mean, that would be really cool if they had like a Blood Tithe system where, depending on how much Blood Tithe they have, how much blood has been filled in the cup, they get like successive buffs. That'd be really awesome.
Yeah, like basically a Blood Right stable that stacks. Yeah.
Yeah, basically Big Wall, but
Big
blood.
Wall, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
I think it's
Flesh Eater Courts, C.
Okay, sorry. So Khorne, B. We're thinking B for Khorne.
Oh,
Khorne is B.
Definitely B. Absolutely.
Okay. Flesh Eater Courts still feels like C. It still feels like this like charge forward hit you army, right? They're faster in some ways than other armies, but and they fight twice, but Roar just stops that, and you can't do anything about that. And
also, like the outside of outside of Terra guys, they have no defense on any of. Yeah, they're cheap, but everything has like a 5-up save.
It's getting to that same point as like Beasts of Chaos, where eventually they're going to get so cheap that they get spammed, and that's what makes them good. And I don't like that. So hoping the rewrite fixes that.
It's amazing because Horror started at 160. They are now like 150, and they're still bad.
Unreal, man. I'd rather have a unit of Liberators.
Yeah, like it's crazy, stupid. Sons of Behemat. So. This is where I disagree.
This is a weird one.
This is B. I think Sons of Behemat is B.
And
the issue is there's still that gatekeeper non-interactive army that can out attrition you simply because you need to be doing wounds in exactly 36 space.
Yeah.
Whereas they can just out attrition you on almost anything, and they have basically gotten anything like just way better because of heroic actions and monstrous actions. And so they're always going to be decent. Like they're not going to be S tier because some of the top armies I think hard counter them with how efficient, but they're always going to be gatekeepers. So B, solid B.
They're the kind of army that if their good matchups are top tier armies, they're going to be good. But if their good matchups are low tier armies, like if they're just beating up all these trash armies, then it doesn't matter. But like if they're fighting against Nurgle, Nighthaunt, Stormcast, Fireslayers, Seraphon, if they're winning against these armies, then they're going to do well, right? I mean, that's every army, but you know what I mean? Like, there's such a polarized army that they're going to have really good matchups and really bad matchups.
Mm-hmm. That leaves us with Slaanesh. Slaanesh is, in my opinion...
How does Khorne kill a Gargant? Like, can they kill a Gargant? I don't think they can.
I mean, Bloodthirsters can, for sure. Scarbrand can.
Scarbrand could.
Yeah. A Boomthirster with
Scarbrand combined with a Bloodthirster with fighting first. Any kind of fight first or fight twice.
That kills one. Yeah. There's 3 more.
I think you keep on killing.
And then they just summon another Scarbrand.
Yeah.
They just feed it chaff because they have so much chaff.
Okay.
But anyway, Slaanesh. So Slaanesh.
I think it's C.
Slaanesh is I could see a B. I could see a C or B, and I think for two reasons. There's
C.
two things that are holding up those books: cockatrices and Kronspine.
Really?
If you take Kronspine away, it's a C or D tier. With the Kronspine, they're a B.
C, I think. Oh, well, I don't know. I still see C.
Yeah, they're just too
somewhere
expensive.
between
They're
B and C.
overcosted. They don't have the tools.
Yeah.
Somewhere between.
So we don't have
I
any
don't-
armies that are
Any
D or
armies
F.
are.
So that
Yeah,
to me that says our
The White
ranking
Dwarf
system's
updates.
not right.
I think that's
No,
correct. No, I don't know.
but that means they're doing White Dwarf updates
Yes.
proper.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think that's a good
It
thing. I
means-
think our system needs to be objective like this, as far as like not being a just scale of bottom army to top army. It should be like S tier is just super strong, and D tier is just
And then
not
F
great, and
tier
F
is,
tier
like,
just don't make
practically
it.
useless.
Yeah, like if
Yeah,
you look at our
practic-
book,
F- I don't- There's no useless books out there, but
Yeah.
like the White Dwarf updates. I think
Maybe
I think
Gits.
they have done.
If you had to
No,
call,
I don't
if
think
you had to
Gits
call
even-
one book the worst book,
probably gets.
probably Gits.
Yeah,
Probably
I'd go
gets.
Gits.
If you had to pick one, you have
Yeah.
to gun to your head, right? You just have
Yep.
to.
Yeah, gets
Or
or like the ogre part of the ogre mod. It's like the melee, like the
Yeah,
foot ogre
the
part.
Gutbusters.
Not,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, the Gutbusters.
They're struggling
They're awful.
so hard. They're
Not as good as
oh,
Beast
man.
Claws.
But they're about to get a new book. I think the two destruction books that are left are ogres and gits for this year.
Slaves of Darkness. We said there was a battle tome coming soonish. It doesn't look like it, so I guess let's rank them.
December.
And let's
Yeah.
split slaves into slaves and then Legion of the First Prince. So where do we think Legion lands on
Dude,
this?
I think Legion lands at D tier.
You
I'll
think
be
why?
honest, like Legion's kind of bad right now.
Pink Horrors just died too quick.
Yeah,
I
like
think Legion's bad.
yeah, with what they want to do right now, like I don't think it's as good. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe that's overreaction. It's
What
probably
is-
C tier,
What
but
is
still,
Legion
like
beating
It's probably
right now?
C tier. Yeah.
yeah, it's probably not D tier.
Even
but-
Ironjawz.
You don't think Legion can put up 3-2s consistently? I think they can. I think it's
Okay,
B tier.
yeah, that's fair. Okay, yeah, Legion can put up 3-2 consistently, but I think they're a lot closer to being 3-2 more often than 4-1 even.
Yeah, that's fair. That's why I said solid B. Like Legion
Okay.
of First Prince is pretty solid B. The
Oh,
other part of State of Darkness is just Archaon, Vanguard, Chaos Warriors, whatever.
D.
That's
That's
all.
still fine.
That's all D tier.
And then
Really?
Gits.
It's all D tier.
You think STD is D tier? I think they're
Yeah.
fine
Yeah.
at C. I don't think they're.
Vanguard, like compare Vanguard of 2 for 280 points to like Fulminator. Fulminators will chew Vanguard a lot.
I mean, compare anything to Fulminators. It's not fair.
Okay, yeah, but like compare like Annihilators. Annihilators will kill,
Fulminators, yeah.
absolutely murder.
Yeah, Slaves just
absolutely
doesn't.
murder
It doesn't have any tricks. It's a very straightforward melee army, and it's not even fast or punchy.
The,
like
the
Ironjawz
strongest,
are.
let me tell you the strongest unit in the Slaves of Darkness. It's called the Chaos Sorcerer. And that's
Yeah.
because it's 135 Lord Castellant with an Arcane Tome on.
Demon
And
Prince
that's
of
what's
Corn.
holding up that entire.
Yeah, he is.
Demon
Yeah.
Prince of Corn.
Yeah, Demon Prince. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And we
Pretty
know that's
key.
not going to stay in the new book. We've
Yeah.
seen the new Demon Prince.
Even with
So, yeah.
those two ridiculous units, and those are some of the best War Scrolls in the game, it's still a D tier army in my opinion.
Like, I haven't seen any Slaves of Darkness results
I mean, that's fair too.
outside of Legion of the First.
Nobody even plays them. That's another problem.
Yeah. And
Sorry.
ever since they took apart that Archaon, gave him the mark and gave him this unrendable bullshit or whatever, I haven't seen Archaon.
Mhm.
hmm Okay, so we're
Was it
gonna.
even
Do we
Legion
call
is
them
at
F
like a,
then? Do we call slaves F? Like, there's a power gap.
No,
here.
I don't think they're F.
I don't
No,
think they're
I
F
don't think
though.
they're F.
I think they play just fine as far as like I think they're still able to play the game. It's
My
definitely
guess
the
is
most
high
popular.
D, low C. High D, low C is right.
I think they'd be the only D. I'll give it
I'm gonna
that.
give them a whole tier lower than Bone Reapers. I'm gonna say D for that part
Okay.
of Slaves of Darkness.
Fair.
And Ogres. Ogres seems to just do it better. And then Gits. Gits don't seem to be getting a book anytime soon. D as well.
I think they are.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, I'll
Gets
get
or
one
D.
in. Gets or D.
They can do well. I've seen
There's
good
good
players
players.
do really well with it.
Yeah.
Right?
I've lost 2 RTTs by points. Second place
Yeah.
to Gits player.
Yeah, but it's like a technicality thing. I
Yeah.
think you can really take them apart.
Yeah, they play a normal game, and AOS is
It's like,
a
how does
weird
Gits
game.
beat Gargants? The answer doesn't.
Yeah, they just don't. They
Doesn't
get good
hurt.
matchups and they can still win, but it's
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
quite F tier. They're not useless.
Yeah. It's going to be tough to find a proper F tier army then. We're going to have to see a really bad book. I'm talking like Nighthaunt
I think-
2nd edition bad.
Gitz was F tier last season.
Let's also completely be honest. A lot of these armies are being held up by like Kron.
Oh yeah, Kharadron would be
Oh,
a
yeah.
B tier
I
army.
think
if it didn't have
there's a
Kronspine.
lot of this. There's a lot of this that drops down a tier and becomes if the Kronspine isn't.
It's not a great way to balance, but at least
Yeah.
things are a little better, I guess. But
Yeah.
it comes at this cost that I don't like.
Yeah. Also, like I don't like how like some of these armies are being held up because it's counterintuitive to their design and like the game's whole design. Like Khorne and like Beast of Chaos comes to mind. Khorne is not that oppressive with its patches, as I like to call it. Beast of Chaos patches, in my opinion, absolutely insane. It breaks the fundamental core principle of what that army is.
What about
Yeah.
Vanguard Archaon lists? Benjamin's asking.
They're not that good, man. They're too expensive. Archaon is
they are very
900 points. Archaon is 900 points. Each unit of Vanguard is 280. So let's say 300 because that's what it'll come out to.
Yeah.
You can put 3 units of Vanguard and Archaon together and a Chaos Sorcerer Lord because you will take a Chaos Sorcerer Lord. If you're not taking him, you're not playing at all. So 3 units of Vanguard Archaon. Okay, let's say you go up against an Aliana Grande. I shoot a Vanguard off, Annihilator's Charge, finish another one off. Next turn, I will kill the last Vanguard on your Chaos Sorcerer Lord, ignore Archaon the whole game, and that's how it goes. Again,
Mhm. Yeah, he's just not that good, unfortunately. And I'm happy about that because I'm so tired of seeing him on the table. But maybe in a year I'll change my mind and want to see him again.
No, Vanguard will be really strong. They'll get the Annihilator treatment. They'll be 300 points. They'll have -2 rend, 3 damage all across the board, and then they'll become really, really good.
Mm.
Then
Yeah, they'll
be fine.
become relevant
But
again.
then, until then, you know.
I hope Slaves of Darkness are like an armor type army, like really durable. I hope that's their thing. Not speed, like good punch,
Yep.
like the
Not really
the
tech.
dark mirror to Stormcast. That's a line they love using.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Real quick,
All right.
final thoughts. What do we think's in the battle scroll in September?
Purple Sun nerf.
Purple Sun nerf.
Purple Sun,
Kronspine
Spellsinger,
nerf.
I don't
Kronspine,
think so.
possible Kronspine nerf, possible Hunt updates to Beast of Chaos and Maggot King.
Yeah,
Do you think
I
they're
Like
watching-
they might bring back the Hunt.
Do you think they're watching the tournament scene this closely to know Beast of Chaos is a problem? Because they're not putting up results.
Well, but they've mentioned it already in that last
Yeah.
article.
I don't think they necessarily watch tournaments. They watch for key players who give them feedback. Like Stormcast Guard didn't get nerfed because we were achieving a 60% win rate with Stormcast Guard. They got nerfed because players said it was.
That's
Yeah.
a conspiracy.
And I think
theory.
that's. I mean, the way I've talked to people, and I'm not going to say who, but I've talked to certain people at certain tournaments, and one of the reasons I can say that I think Stormcast Guard were 285 is because they didn't have Draconic
They didn't have-
Onslaught when they got
There's
tested.
no way they
It
had
got
that.
stapled on literally before the tome went to print. And so 285 makes a lot more sense when you realize that part of the War Scroll Draconic Onslaught had never been written.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
I hope
the
we get
Hunt
the
maybe for those two armies. Anything else we're predicting in the battle scroll? Does anything feel like oppressively strong, like a Thunderbolt Volley and Draconic Onslaught felt?
I think Sylvaneth will get a little bit of a nerf to the Spellsinger thing, just because that part feels a little strong.
They
think
they
as
rely
they-
on that a lot.
Yeah, I think as they figure out the book, Sylvaneth will feel better and perform better as you get used to what the playstyle is, because it's different than it used to be. It's an entirely different playstyle, I think, when you're trying to play it optimally and at a tournament
I think
level.
it's what it was always supposed to be. I think if you look at the
Yes.
first and second edition books, they had this idea, but they never really quite nailed it. The rules never amounted to the kind of gameplay that encouraged playing in that way. So,
Yeah, all of 3.0 is going that direction, which is super nice, I guess, except for Nurgle Flies.
Hey, man.
But the rest of Nurgle book...
even if the game is an unbalanced, janky mess, if it's fun, that's all I care about. I'll play
That's
an
fair.
unbalanced game all day long if it's fun. That's all I care about.
If everything is broken,
Alright.
nothing is broken.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Apparently, Tempesters are officially A tier according to the polls. So there we
It
go.
is what it is. We tried. We did a whole video.